Oh yeah. Mute.
What a train, my Lord, I ever seen. What a train, I ever seen. Run down Jackson, Jackson, New Orleans. New Orleans, New Orleans. Right out of Jackson, Jackson, New Orleans. What a winning man, railroad man. Man, a winning man, railroad man. Man, a winning man, railroad man. Every day, son, left dollar in your hand. In your hand. Every day, son, left dollar in your hand. Try to win your man, don't man no from it, man. Matter where, man, no from it, man. Matter when you man, from it.
Okay, welcome to Flat Revival Radio. Thank you for being here. Joining me today is the editor of Flat Revival magazine, Louis Lewis, and special guest, Jibby Jedi. We are going to be delving into the 500-year lie, which is to say that, we're meant to believe that heliocentrism has been settled science for a good 500 years, and they keep trying to push that back even further and further, saying that this is something that even ancient cultures were already dabbling with. But there is a tremendous amount of evidence to suggest that the Earth being revolving around the sun and being a spinning ball of water in outer space is a very recent phenomenon. And we're going to be presenting a lot of evidence courtesy of Jibby, and it's going to be quite a show. I think it's a topic that I was surprised to hear about it. I don't know how long ago it was, a few months. It's just part of it's a part of the larger deception, because the further back they can push that, the further they can make us think that this has been settled, and it gives people that comfort, that knowing that this has been accepted and settled for hundreds and hundreds of years, that makes it easier to believe. And so it's all built in to the deception here. I wanted to also start by showing off the cover to issue number 2 of Flat Revival magazine. And again, Jibby Jedi is going to be providing us with the feature story for that. It will have to do with NASA faking space, and he will be presenting all kinds of great evidence to that, and also delving into it a little bit more philosophically. The cover is by Unruly Fellows. Absolutely beautiful piece. It's got a sense of humor, and I really like the jump from the first issue's cover. Was very kind of monochromatic and distinct that way, and this cover is very colorful, and I think they're going to look really good together. So I wanted to show that off. And yeah, so how you doing, Jibby? You with me?
Oh crap! Yeah.
Hey, what a great way to jump in there.
Yeah. No, always professional. That's my motto.
Nice.
No, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's we've been wanting to do this stream for a while. Something always seemed to get in the way, and we've been putting it off, and here we are, though.
Yeah, and I'm not able to control myself from talking about it on other chats and stuff like that. Just philosophically talking about it, even, and it's interesting. It's
Sure,
interesting
I mean,
how
it should
facts
be.
change so much.
It should be talked about. The more it's talked about, the better. I mean, that's the whole idea, is to get this information out to people. And anything we can do to break down this thing that they've built, this concept of, that it's absolutely solid science, that you're just absurd for even questioning it, because hey, this is this has been settled for 500 years. It's who would be crazy enough to question something that everybody's agreed on for so long. And but once you start to realize that that's not the case, it gets a little easier to let go of it. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, and it's never really like flat Earth has never gone away. Like it's never been settled. That is in just by saying that over and over again, it's convinced people that it's been true. But flat Earth has never gone away, as I've come to learn. It's just never got. It's like the globe has. It's almost like oh yeah, I knew that. You just say like, oh yeah, it's been said a long time ago. It has. Well, yeah, you don't know that. Well, I guess not. And then that kind of thing spreads, and then people just, I don't know. They think like it's been settled. It's never been settled ever.
Exactly. And I love that. There's been books, very recent books published. There's been a lot of things. This isn't. And I'm going to put this on the screen for everybody, but I've ordered this book recently, Worlds Beyond the Poles, which I've heard is a pretty phenomenal read. I don't know if you've checked that out, Jibby.
Yeah, we have a friend, Cathexis. He did a reading of most of it, I believe. I don't think he completed it, but he did Kings Dethroned and he did Worlds Beyond the Poles, audio book, basically, him reading it. So that's how I got a hold. Plus, I also found a copy back in like 2016. We were spreading around the forums of Worlds Beyond the Poles. So that is a good
Nice.
book.
Book. It's interesting to me too, whenever you find a book that might actually have valid information, it always seems to be more expensive. Like when you go to order it on Amazon, like the paperback for this book, I just ordered it, was $19.95. And it's like, it's a super simple publication with it's all black and white interior. I mean, it doesn't reflect the production cost of it. Why is it more expensive? It doesn't make, and every time I've ever ordered a book that was actually something with some potency to it, it's always cost more. I don't know if other people have noticed this.
I heard in the beginning when that book was going around, I heard it was a $500 book. That was the rumor.
That I wouldn't be surprised. And probably as it maybe it got some legs, so some other people like put out some new editions and whatever, and the prices come down. But yeah, the books that really have value, that have something to offer, you'll find that they're not cheap. And it doesn't make any sense, because this is a really cheap book to print. It shouldn't be expensive.
Wow. And I loved the book. It just really gets your mind going. You can kind of visualize the descriptions in your head of what they're saying, and I liked it.
I keep hearing a lot about it, so I'm looking forward to getting that. And I've heard that it really takes a lot of focus. Multiple
you should check out
readings.
King's Dethroned. Have you read King's Dethroned? That's another really good one.
Okay, no, I haven't. Cool. I'll
Yeah,
check that
I'll
out too.
the,
I'm sure it's pricey too.
No, I'll give you a free copy.
Oh, right.
I know there's one going around, so I'll find it. I just got to dig it up.
Nice. How you doing, Louis?
I'm all right. Well, it gets harder and harder for me to answer that question. I don't know. I have no idea.
Fair enough.
I'm excited to listen today. I mean, I'm kind of here as a complete student because this whole thing is absolutely new to me. So it'll be interesting to hear what Jibby has to say and show.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I am too. This isn't something I've explored at length or researched at length, but I have been hitting on some things here and there. You know, like newspaper articles wanting to, from not that long ago, basically wanting to burn people at the stake if they were teaching heliocentrism. So, um, you know, again, this isn't something that was accepted easily or lightly. And I don't think it was until they could standardize the education, standardize the curriculums in a universal way that they were really able to pull off this deception.
And you have to think about it too in terms of literacy. If you're illiterate, well, that suggests that you're uneducated on these royal facts, as I've come to call them. So then how, do you just, at that point, do you have to take somebody's word for it? So let's say you're a farmer, pioneer, whatever, and here comes the government coming along. You live on a spinning ball. What do you think the reaction would be back then? It would be like, okay, thanks for your opinion.
Right. Cool. Can I get what you're on? Because that sounds pretty trippy.
Yeah. And that's that's how it would have had to have been when they introduced this globe thing, which seems to be European. So this European globe thing spread out. It just spread out all. Hey, you're living on a spinning ball. Okay, thank you. Like how nobody's. Maybe a couple people said, maybe I could kind of see where you're getting that. All right. No, look at the shadows. Look at the pendulum. Look at this. Look at that. Who did that? Our friends and family did all these experiments. We're the ones who advanced mankind. None of you people do anything significant. Only us and the people we know and the people we publish.
Right.
So they have this whole backstory of all these experiments that were allegedly done. How do we know? I don't know. I mean, so this is spread out, and you're telling people about Aristophanes and all these, and people are like, okay, who are they? Who's Copernicus? Who's all? Like, it's not like everybody across the world knew these people actively when they were alive. Like, this is like stories that would be carried on. There was no telephones back then, so how do you spread this? How do you spread this information?
Right. And then it kind of preys on people's kind of inherent nature when it comes to not wanting to look foolish in the eyes of others. I think that's a big part of this whole game. When something doesn't make sense, but everyone around you seems to agree with it, there's a kind of human tendency to just be like, go with the flow on that,
Yeah. Yep. So and then you have modern publications. Once the printing press and these things started coming out, now you can send books and imagery in books out throughout the world. So now you're seeing these things. And of course, it's very intimidating. The people who are illiterate and uneducated, they're like, wow, this looks really smart. Like, these people are, I'm just a farmer. I'm just taking care of my family. That's all. They're simple people. Most people were simple people. They weren't royalty. They weren't noble.
And that's
where
interesting.
All this information came from.
It's interesting because you hear that. I've heard that a lot, today with people presented with the flat Earth possibility and the evidence. You still hear that same response. Well, I have to go to work tomorrow. I have to provide for my family. I mean, what does this even matter?
Yep. Well, nothing has even changed. I mean, it's like you can say something and somebody's answer will be, well, who am I to sit there and say somebody like Stephen Hawking is wrong? It's the same thing.
Yeah. It's the
you know,
same game.
you create these character heads that are just like so smart they should be able to time travel by blinking their eyes or something.
Right.
And so like if shit is given to me and oh, this book was written by Stephen Hawking and I'm sitting there reading it, you have a natural tendency to be like, well, who am I to disagree with this? His IQ is in the upper, I mean, closer to 200 or whatever, and mine, I don't know,
Yeah.
80. I don't know.
Yeah, this is the game. You know, they're presenting people that have been put on this false pedestal. Their intellectual prowess is praised everywhere they go. They're presented as kind of these gods of knowing, and it seems like this is the same. It's just a repetition. They keep doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah, nothing ever really changes as far as the game is played, except for the clothes.
And each, if we're part of this age, so we think that we know something, and the past was foolish, and we're the ones that know. We have all the answers, and
we evolved into a much more intellectual society than 200 years ago.
Right. And you've got Google that can give you the answer to any question, even though it's the wrong answer.
Right.
People don't know that. So
in a way, it's almost like, in a way, it's like the people who were illiterate were actually far more intelligent.
Sure.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
I can definitely see that point of view.
Or at least they were connected to reality in a much stronger sense, and they understood things that actually mattered in the day to day. And
yeah, when you don't have books to read or movies to watch, what are you looking at? You're looking at the sky. So they had kind of a natural understanding of the I guess astrology, the movements of the lights in the sky. And it's turning out now, like, if you it helps to take the planet's positions into account with weather forecasting.
Sure.
I didn't know that prior to Flat Earth. But yeah, this all ties in, weather systems and things like that, the movements of the lights in the sky. They had a grasp on that back then, living off the land. And it's always been like simple people versus the elite, as far back as I think his story tells us.
Right. Well, do you want to start diving into some of this material you have?
So much.
I know. Well, we'll hit on a cross section of it, and I'm sure it'll become clear where we feel we've presented enough.
And there's lots of publications that go way back, and all the way to 20th century, where Flat Earth debating and all this presentation was very active, because it's kind of like the globe stepped in and we're like, yeah, everybody knows it's a globe. And it was, I think, 1912 or 1913, Universal Studios was introducing that spinning globe on their moving pictures. That started way back then. That's like 50 years before they got out into space to see what it looked like. They figured it out. And the continents and the positions of them and everything has not changed at all. Like, they guessed that good back then. And then it comes out that the picture in the 1960s, I think it was the 60s, 67 or something, was the first picture from distant way out. And and it's like, wow, good guess. How'd you get it right?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, but it's a family tradition lie. So it's like, well, your granddaddy said it looked like this, so I guess, all right, it's going to look like that then on the logo. It's going to look like that then when we bring back the NASA pictures. It's going to look like that, because that's Pappy's globe that he made, or whatever, King Pappy. And that's just, yeah. So they guessed it, because it's been fake the whole time. So of course
It's pretty easy to get it right when you have a script to work off of, and you know
Yeah.
what's coming next. Yeah, and it's just like what is the author Arthur C. Clarke, right? His fictional depiction of satellites, dead on, right? He was
Yep.
exactly right.
Yep.
He was just writing a sci-fi book, and he got it right. Hmm.
Yeah, the satellites. Oh, yeah, that's good stuff. All right, I don't know. You guys can see my screen here.
So let me ask. Right now, we're sharing Jibby's screen inside of our framework. Is that big enough for
And
people?
I
Is that too small?
depends what he wants us to see. Like I can see the headlines, but everything else is pretty small for me.
Okay, I got to blow it up here. Um, and I can't see the watch page, so I have no idea how this looks.
No, I know, and
But you know,
I'm
yeah,
monitoring it, and hopefully someone in chat is. Would you guys like this stuff that's being shared to be larger? Because we can go full screen with it.
everybody has seen this by now. I think the world map that shows all the extra.
Yes.
And I was just learning from Marlena. You guys know who
Mm,
she is. She hangs out. She's I guess native. She has native ties and says like what she was taught was there was 26 lands, 26 giant lands. Like before this she ever saw this is what her culture was taught. There were 26 lands. And I'm like, 26? Where does that number sound familiar? How many letters in the alphabet? It's just like weird. Um, so 26, that makes sense. We have, what, 7 that we're aware of?
right.
If there's 26 total, that's very interesting. But yeah, I don't know. So this is
Yeah,
speculation.
she's a fascinating, and it's someone I almost was like, man, it would be good to have her on from her perspective because she wasn't taught all of this nonsense
Right.
about
And
the
she's a
globe.
pilot, too,
Yeah,
who acknowledges it's flat.
yeah, and that fascinates me that even today there are cultures, pockets that are not they're not engaging this. They're not teaching their kids the globe. They're not, so again, it speaks to the fact that this is even today not accepted universally.
The globe and the flat both are not accepted universally, and I don't think they ever have. It's just the globe squeezed its way in our lives a long time ago. I mean, how old is the globe? You can't. That's a subjective answer. It's not objective for everybody because it's when you finally learn of this globe is when now that's how old the globe is to you.
Right.
But so it's going to be different ages. Like, how old is it from its first inception? Well, I don't really know. Like, my family records only go back to like as far back as we can trace the early 1700s. That's as far back as my entire family record goes. We've tried to find it. In a lot of people's cases, their family records might go back to the 1600s, maybe a couple in the 1500s but that's about it. Nobody seems to have family records that go back, say, 1,000 years.
Right.
None that I've ever heard anyway. I've been asking around for a while, like, how far back does your family records go? You'd think, like, that stuff would be preserved throughout, the generations, going all the way back as far as you can go, and every family would have copies of it or something.
It seems somewhat important. Yeah. I mean,
It's a little weird, it's a little weird why records just seem to end at a certain point for most families, regular people. But the royals, their records seem to go back like thousands of years. They're the
sure.
only ones who have records that go back that far. None of us do. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, that is strange.
So we have to take their word for everything. Oh, yes, Eratosthenes did this thousands of years ago. Okay. Like, how do you know? Like, and that's how most of this information was. That's how we learned Cool. Louis the 14th Snickers were green. Okay, I didn't know that. Now I guess I know that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all just
and that's
stories.
all it really takes.
It's just stories, and they can be any. They could be anything that is wanted to achieve a certain end result in how we think.
Yeah, and I think it's the Rockefellers who own all of the educational institutions, while the Rothschilds own all the land. I think that's how they divided this world up, something like that. And then you have the Warburgs and all those families or whatever. But once they are the dominant control of the education system, then it's their story, history, their story, whatever. It's that's what gets put out there. And then they control the industry, so you have to learn their information to work in their industry to provide, or you can go out and skin animals and hunt and live old school if you want, but
Can you?
nobody
Is that
wants to do
even
that.
possible anymore? I mean,
Yeah.
I
There's
don't
people
even
who
know that
live.
you could do that now because don't you have to have licenses and
Oh, there you do. Yeah, with
how would
trapping
you
and
even
things
do
like
that?
that. Yeah,
The land's all
there's
owned by
people.
somebody.
Al, I know this folks that do it in Maine, probably northern New Hampshire, my area. But you start going south, and there's nobody doing that stuff really. I mean, you might have some in the south trapping or whatever, and there are some who do live like Louisiana and such, who live on roadkill. I don't know, these roadkill barbecues.
Right.
It's gross, but it's free.
I mean,
You know
if
what I'm saying?
if that alternative was viably available to me, I think I would have been awfully tempted by it at several points in my life. But it's never felt like a viable alternative unless you're doing it outside the law.
Yeah, now you have to have a fishing license, a hunting license. It's hunting season. Like, what do you mean season? you know, hunting season. What?
The season is
I'm
I
hungry
need
all
to
year.
eat and I'm going to go
Yeah.
get something to eat. That's the season. you know. Oh
It's
man.
absurd.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
And so think of like Little House on the Prairie. That was the pioneer days of small towns spreading out.
Right.
And then people getting together and making bigger and bigger towns. And, your education basically was in a barn or something. The kids got together in the town, and where did that information? Well, they were teaching flat Earth regularly because that's, it was the European influence was allegedly gone, but not really.
But not
backdoor
really.
deals,
What
whatever.
wasn't I
Yeah.
seem to recall seeing, and I don't know if this was on a Flat Earth channel or something a while back. It seemed to me that there was an actual Little House on the Prairie episode where there was a teacher started trying to teach the kids, some of this new science about things, and that, of course, the like more Puritan dude like comes in with the mountain man beard and is like, "You can't teach that to children," and of course he's the ignorant buffoon.
God-fearing people. That's what and God-fearing people living on a flat Earth. And then here comes the new information and the representatives being spread out to town to introduce the new information to the schools.
Right.
And of course, it was met with opposition by the Christians and the religious folks of all sects that were just living on a flat Earth. That's, and we say this today. What do all your senses tell you? That you're moving, spinning, you're moving 3-4 different speeds through the vacuum of space. How do you have a vacuum with a pressurized atmosphere? All this stuff, and it's the same things. It's when you go back and read all these old arguments with flat Earth, it's exactly what we say today. Suez Canal, this, that, and the other. It's all the same. None of it has gone away. We've just been distracted.
Right.
And modernization. The radio, when radio came out, flat Earth was all over the radio. Television, flat Earth, well, they tried, but TV is a tighter hold, and so it was mostly radio, shortwave, and came later, and it's not gone anywhere, and it's just, you've been told it has. You've been told, oh yeah, 2,000 years ago they knew it was no. Who knew 2,000 years ago? Who? You know, how did you get that to Australia? How'd you get it to Canada? How'd you get it to the Native Americans? How did you know?
Yeah.
Everybody knew. It's not everybody. It's your people knew, or said they knew. And then they spread it out. The new information goes everywhere.
And the people that were most unwilling to accept the new information seemed to experience a unfortunate case of widespread death.
Plagues introduced, things like that. Merck.
You
Merck
know.
goes back to like the 1600s, 1700s. Merck vaccines were there's information out there that say vaccines were created for population control specifically.
Right.
So they're spreading out, introducing the new information. If you're not taking to it, maybe a plague is coming, you know,
Right.
things like that. And eventually it turns into almost like guerrilla militia tactics, where it's like, believe in the globe or die, you know?
Yeah.
They still do that Coney stuff in Africa. There's still guerrilla militias that go into the villages and slaughter people if you don't jump onto whatever religion. You know, that goes on today still. Everybody's comfortable in America and the UK and all these modernized countries, but there's villagers being slaughtered in Africa probably right now. Just by government, military, guerrilla groups. So, and it's still spreading beliefs. It's the same It's the same thing. Believe this. Believe what we say to believe.
Yeah.
They either do it, and they do it a little nicer in the more modernized countries.
I suppose. I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at that. When I look at my own experience, and I look at going through 12 years of education, where I could have been becoming an amazingly knowledgeable person that actually was competent and knew how to do things and understood the world in which they live, and they stole that from me by teaching me a bunch of nonsense, I don't find that to be very nice. No, they didn't kill me. They didn't do it at knife point, but they still stole something from me, and that's upsetting.
Yeah, I think they gave something to you, which having that side of everything, and then even later coming to the truth of what you should have been taught, you now have more firepower, knowledge to be able to accept and disseminate information in a much more
that's a highly positive out. Where's my friend Louie, and what have you done with him? That's a highly positive. That's an interesting perspective.
We've talked about it before. People need to know both sides.
Right. It's true. To be effective in what we're trying to do, I think you almost have to know the other side better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and knowing both sides, then you can make an informed decision. But we encounter a lot of the globe believers who don't want to spend 5 minutes looking at our side of the fence, and they just don't. They're locked in. You know, they want to be locked in too, because that's what they perceive the majority is locked. So it's perception deception.
Right.
It's spreading though. Like there's so much, the internet for one. Now you're getting worldwide information instantly. You can discuss it like we do with tracking the sun and all these experiments. And we talk to Australia. Hey, can you see the moon? Yes. And then we'll call Russia. Can you see the moon? Yeah. Now we're going to call South America. Can you see the moon? Yeah. How can we all see the moon, you know, in these locations at the same time? Like these things that we couldn't do before. Prior to like what, 20, 30 years ago? I mean, I guess you could do it by telephone, but were they back then? Like some people say, yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. It's like the noble society kind of branched off. Like there were people who were noble who were speaking flat Earth, and it's not even all flat earthers can't stay on the same page. Well, same with the royalty; they couldn't stay on the same page either, and then they didn't like then when you bring religion into it too, that's the governor of many people's actions, and God-fearing religious people tended to stay on the flat earth and not move to the globe. It was the modern world. This lady right here, I think this is Lady Blount. Eric Dubay talks about her a lot, and this is from 1905. Her mission in life is to prove the Earth flat. And now with the use of photography, which was becoming more accessible to just regular people, she's taking long distance pictures. This is 1905. She's arguing the same stuff that we do today. So there's that. These are ChristianFlatEarthMinistry.org. Awesome picture here. I love the grabbing onto the globe.
Right.
Oh yeah, that was a hilarious picture. And look at this picture. This is awesome. Look at the distant islands, the distant land, and this is just the Christian perspective, but here's a whole list of old booklets. Earth Not a Globe Review. I don't know if you can see this, a PDF here. So these are all old write-ups. There's so many. It's endless. This is from 1893. That's just the first link there. And yeah, you can go through all these. It's ChristianFlatEarthMinistry.org/old-booklets. Bunch here you can go through 1897, 1894.
Nice.
All Earth Not a Globe, Earth Not a Globe. Tons and tons to go through here.
I mean, it's showing a tremendous opposition, and we're talking 120 years ago.
Yep.
A lot of these. So again, this isn't something people accepted lightly. This isn't something that was settled 500 years ago. There were groups and people in mass opposition to this 100 years ago.
I mean, let me ask a question. If are they taught? Was this taught anywhere like outside of religious schools?
These were published in newspapers, things like that. It was a couple of this one guy. He got a radio station. Let me see if I can. This is from the 1905 Flat Earth Theorist speaking in London, Executive Hall, water level, convex, a Zetetic Society. The Zetetic Society was very active, lived on the globe 25. This is all the same things we say today. Exact same thing. But this guy was pretty active. Here he is. Wilbur Glenn Voliva. He, for the first part of in the first part of the 20th century, he eventually got a radio station for $25,000, a Christian ministry radio station, and very active flat Earth on the radio in the 20th century.
Interesting that they still call them. They still say flat Earth theorists.
Yeah. It's the word games that they use to convince you. Yes, like climate change denier, Holocaust denier. Like just the title alone is insulting.
Yeah.
And has
denier, man. That word is used to great effect. Because there's something almost foul about it. You're a denier. A denier of the truth. A denier of what we all know to be absolutely fact-based. Wow, you're foul.
Back in the 9/11 days, screaming about 9/11 inside job, they used to say, "What are you, a truther?" And they tried to make that title insulting too. And I said, as opposed to what?
A falser?
If I'm a so I'm either going to be a truther or a,
yeah. I mean,
the language is so important. Like for me, it holds the answers to everything. You have to learn how to read differently. You know, I was talking to somebody yesterday about black holes and antimatter and stuff, and I was like, what is antimatter? It's the opposite of matter, which is what? Nothing. So they're doing these experiments with nothing. And he's like, well, you can't take definitions into account with this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, you absolutely do. Definitions mean nothing exists without language, in my opinion. Nothing. It can't. You know, so
language is like magic. It's like spellcraft, you know? You're spelling your words.
Yeah. But I mean, with stuff like that, what was just being hit on, you know, what does the word denier really mean, or truther and all that kind of stuff? I think if more people spent more time just reading and skimming, and instead of that, actually look at the words, look up definitions you don't know, and apply it in as many ways as you can. Language is the way forward, because this is just a massive language game.
Yeah, and break the word down too to its different parts.
Absolutely.
Govern, meant, goober, mente, to govern the mind. You know, you break its word down.
Right.
Learn what the word really means.
Yeah, and I mean, once you start doing that, I mean, it'll be maddening because it takes forever to get through a novel or something. But once you do that, you're going to start perceiving everything in your life in a different way.
Yeah.
Yes.
No doubt.
You
man.
get a new set of eyes.
Language is. I think we would all benefit from taking a crash course in linguistics and understanding the force that is language, which is what they use to cast their spells on us on a regular basis.
Right.
You know.
And that's why so many people get screwed by insurance companies, because you ever try to read the EOBs or the booklet plan, it takes forever to decipher, because they're incredibly talented wordsmiths
that get better every year.
Yeah.
It's getting to the point now where I need to hire somebody just to go through my mail.
I know.
Yeah. No doubt about it, man. I mean, we really have to be aware of how language is used, and used against us, and used to guide our minds in specific directions. It's been quite fascinating growing up in this society, and especially, you know, with the onset of political correctness, you see the tremendous power of the language on people when it comes to that. Where now you can you let out a slight excusable fart in the wrong room, and suddenly you're getting strung up
because you're a racist somehow or something. You know,
labels and titles, and this might have started back in '67, I think it was, where the CIA created the term conspiracy theorist to kind of humiliate the people that were looking into like Watergate, JFK, that kind of thing. No, it was before Watergate. It was JFK. It was basically do the JFK stuff. They wanted to kind of curb the discussion. So now you give it a title that is kind of insulting and humiliating, and also tells a story. And it's about title and labeling. And then they've been doing this. Remember, teabagger. I couldn't believe they were saying that on the news as freely as they were saying it. Teabagger, like just. Of course, I was taking a more dirty connotation, because that's what they took it to that level. They did.
It just hit me there.
Well,
yeah, they were taking it to that level on the news, and I was like, wow. And it's just about the insult, the climate change denier, Holocaust denier, title, label, and then you write. When you hear these labels, the way you're first presented these labels, and then you automatically conspiracy theorists, you're writing them off.
Well, what's funny is, like, these terms are meant to be jabs at people or whatever, but when you look up the words, I mean, they're not. You know, people need to realize being a conspiracy theorist isn't a bad thing. I mean, scientific theory, why isn't that a bad thing? It's the exact analogy. A conspiracy, a plan hatched by two or more
tone of voice too. The way it's presented, tone of voice. If they say conspiracy theorist, no, they say conspiracy theorists. Like
Right,
it's
exactly.
the tone too, which also gives you. So it's important how you say something.
It is very much so.
That condescending tone. Vsauce is great at that condescending, and they're so complex these days that with the combination of background music and sound effects, it really puts you in a certain state of mind that people are not even aware of it on the subconscious level. Like, pay attention for it. The baby crib music, xylophone, to get you in that mother's arms comforting feeling as they present something to you. So that use the music for that. And with a lot of the science stuff, and I've seen Michio Kaku and Neil deGrasse and all these people when they're doing their documentaries where they're showing space, and they use a lot of like sound effects, like beep boops and bops and beeps and ding dongs and things that it's like, what is this for a 4-year-old? No, this is for adults. And we have a society now like with men in their 40s and 50s who act like kids. Because this is what every day you're bombarded on your TV with xylophone, baby crib music, and beep boops and ding dongs, and it's like, what happened to the good old days? Like I used to like In Search of, narrated by Leonard Nimoy. It'd just be very subtle, and it'd be like back in ancient Egypt, and it was like they were talking to adults back then. Right. Now it's just baby crib music with bebops, and which puts you in a state of mind like, oh, this is fundamental stuff. Like at the fundamental level, even a child should know this. Exactly. That's what your subconscious is taking in. You're not really aware of.
I really like
in that right state of mind to absorb all that.
Right. That's funny.
It's good stuff, man.
Space is big and scary. Beep boop boop.
Watch us spend our time doing somersaults.
Yeah. A physics girl, whatever her name is, she's another one with the beep boops and beep bops, and I'm like, and that's the heavy control system right there. When they're putting in patronizing music and beep boops and ding dongs, like that's where I can't even stand the why. I just get angry because I'm paying attention to it, and most people aren't. They're just passively taking it in. Charles, Flat Earth Math, he loves that kind of stuff. Anything with whoosh. All right, gather around, kiddies. We're going to talk about space. Beep, boop, boop. And it's just, I'm like, I can't watch this. I want something intelligent, If I want to watch comedy or a kid's show, then I'll watch it. You don't put a kid's show on top of an adult science documentary. It's just... Just pay attention to it, like background music and commercials, things like that. They're all carefully orchestrated and timed just right. And people just watch it passively. And of course, the TV puts out the alpha waves, and who knows what it's doing now with the digital signals. Like when we went from analog to digital, that's where I stopped taking chances. Because I'm like, okay, they're going to start using cymatics and all kinds of stuff now. I'm like, this is getting serious, and I didn't do the switch over, and that's pretty much when I stopped TV, because that's no joke. Once they switched over, now they can embed a lot of stuff in the TV signal, and I got to tell you, society's gotten hella worse in the past 10 years since the switch over, like really bad. Like people are dumber than ever. 7-second attention span. Because that's what the quick cuts trained everybody to do. The quick cuts. Hi, over here. And then blink, they're over here. Now they're over here. Now they're over here. Right. Every 7 seconds is a quick cut. And then that trains your brain to only have 7-second attention span. So you try to tell somebody something for like 2 minutes, their mind's already gone and off road. They're not paying attention anymore. You got to do it quick You got to get something, you want to get their attention, you got to do it for 7 seconds. And then you got to switch to something else, get their attention again. Like the TV is doing so much damage to people and their attention spans and everything. It's the greatest ultimate weapon against the society that's ever been created is this television. They said it best in the movie Network. The most awesome goddamn power, like my GD, but he was right. That was 1970, and he nailed it. You can watch that now. It applies right now.
Yeah.
$1 buys a nickel's worth. It's the same thing.
You're killing me, dude. Oh, you're dropping into the zone. I like it.
Yeah, that television, man. I use my television as my computer monitor. I'm using it right now, 55-inch. I don't watch TV. I haven't had a cable bill in 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
I do watch a couple shows. There's websites or whatever. People still Netflix. They do all that stuff. And,
yeah, dude. I watch the shows.
Watching the commercials. You
pick and choose what you want to watch. I haven't watched a commercial in years. Like, sometimes I'll be in an environment where I have to watch a commercial, and I'm absolutely flabbergasted by it because I haven't had to intake that stuff for so long. And I'm just like appalled by it. Just appalled.
Oh yeah, I get angry.
Yeah,
I can't sit there. Like nobody can watch TV with me. I drive everybody crazy because I comment constantly. The occult symbolism constantly. I'm just constantly like, hey, there's the sun symbol, there's the crescent, there's the look what they did there with the pyramid. And it's just people like, oh, will you shut up? I just want to watch this. And I'm like, why? Look at Nabisco, what they're doing. It's just they're like, stop.
Yeah, I can. I can't tolerate it, and there's ways to sidestep it. And you can do it quite effectively. And if you still want to watch the things you want to watch, you can do that. But you don't have to. You don't have to engage this nonsense. Probably the only time I watch a commercial these days is when somebody's decoding it.
Yeah. Yep. I'm coming in contact with the TV kids watching their Animal Planet shows or one of the other shows, and I can't shut up. I just can't. And they like the Flash, the TV show. So they were trying to watch some police shows the other day, and then there was a commercial for another police show that's coming out, and I'm like, oh, good. I didn't think 500 police shows were enough. We need more.
How many?
It's all Law and Order this, Law and Order that, police show. Because, the regular people identify with the lives of police, right?
Yeah.
Why are there 500 police shows?
And it's so, or like, solving the murder, finding the killer. Like, how many of these shows have to exist? Is this all we got? Are you serious?
Yeah, and it must make up each one though. At the end of each one, they act like Chunk from the Goonies. And in 3rd grade, I stole my parents' eraser. And it's like at the end of the show, they've admitted everything they've ever done wrong, ever. And it's like nobody does that, but the shows they do. And if you watch this for years and years and years, you start being trained to act like that. So now when the police come knocking on your door, you're like, oh, come in my house. This is everything I've ever done wrong. These things are being done for a reason. Nobody identifies with the lives of police as much as 500 television shows of police need to be on TV. It's done for a reason.
You would think that the television shows would be about people's lives, like, the people living lives on the whole, on the percentage. There are way more of us leading lives not as police, not as investigators. Why you think that would be far more relatable, which it would be, but that's not what we get.
No, and when we do get regular shows, it's either the unrealistic middle America family, where, like a Seventh Heaven or something that's just so not realistic, or it's over the top, Roseanne, dysfunctional, So married with children, you're not getting like
Right.
regular. There's not too much regular. It's one extreme or the other extreme, where everybody has a nice, expensive $1 million home, nice, clean, white family. House is always clean. Like, nobody, and then you look at your life and you feel like depressed. You're like, oh, and yeah, that's all done on purpose. It's to get you in a certain mentality of depression. Everybody's depressed. Like somebody asked me, how you doing? Like, do you suffer from depression? I'm like, I'm paying attention. So yeah, I do. I suffer from depression.
I'm paying attention. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm paying attention to what's going on. Of course I'm depressed.
That's an interesting, it's something Louie and I talk about often. It's like, how can you not be in a kind of state of at some level of depression or anxiety if you're not paying attention? I mean, it's just not possible.
Right. It's not. And the people that I see who are euphorically happy, I'm like, okay, you're lying to yourself or you live under a rock. It's one or the other. The people who are just being themselves, where they're like, hey, man, I am really pissed off and miserable. I trust that more than the, hi, how are you today? That's awesome. Glad to hear it. Like, you are lying through and through. In every syllable.
That's one of the reasons I can't allow myself to get a real job anymore, because it sends me into a homicidal rage.
Yeah, you and Louie, yeah, you're gonna hit it off quite well, man. It's interesting because I've put myself in a position where I don't have to be out there all the time either. I'm a freelance graphic designer and I work from home. Because I could make more money working in an office, guaranteed. Probably a lot more. But I choose to work at home because I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with having to put on that fake mask and that fake voice and go out and do that.
The fucking people who walk by you and they're like, hey, how you doing? And they just keep on walking. It's like, if you don't care about how I'm really doing, just don't ask me. Like, I'm cool with you not asking me.
Right. Yeah.
I get that in the South. Every time you walk by somebody, how you doing today? How you doing today? But in the North, nobody says a word.
I'm moved to the North.
Yeah, I'm in the North. We don't talk to each other. I go visit somebody down South. How you doing today? How you doing today? How you? I'm like, oh my God, why is everybody talking to me? Which I like the friendliness, but there is such a thing as being too good. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
and there's a line. Like, friendliness, okay, but there comes a time in the day where it's just all you people need to shut the hell up.
Yeah. Yeah, the New York mentality is.
I just get tired. It feels like if you're going to participate out in society these days, it's all about like who can be the most witty all the time. It's like an ongoing comedy show, and you have to be on all the time, or people are like, man, that guy's a little weird. He's like in a mood.
That's what everything is. Yeah.
No, I'm just contemplating, the weight of my reality. Is that a problem for you? Sorry.
Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed?
Why aren't you entertaining me? What's wrong with you?
Why don't you smile very much?
How come you're not making me laugh constantly? Whoa.
I'm not going to lie. I think we went a little off track here, but it's been good.
Flat Earth is all about off-roading.
I think as the self-imposed moderator of this thing, maybe we should rein it in for a second. Get back to some of these factoids that Jibby has.
Oh yeah. So all right, what was I talking about? I was talking about this guy. He owned a radio station and was broadcasting Christianity, flat Earth proofs. Is the map that we, I guess, some of us now don't believe.
That's the rumor.
Well,
Yeah,
or we
some-
just really like getting into pissing matches over it. Whatever.
we have to be oppositional defiance disorder, or there's something wrong with us.
Hmm.
So they had this sign up. He was very influential. He got like towns, entire towns, strictly flat Earth. Like, because the globe had such a weak hold on people, because it literally did come back down to you have to take their word for it.
Right.
Literally, like that's it. Because you're illiterate. Literacy. When did literacy become pretty standard? Probably what mid 19th century. Actually, it still goes on today. There's still people. I taught illiterate adults for community service back in senior year. Not community service that I did something wrong. It was actually an elective course in high school that I took, teaching illiterate adults, and we did this once a week. And yeah, there's just people in my town who didn't know how to read, and they were, in their 30s or 40s or whatever. So illiteracy still goes on today, and to them, they're taking somebody's word for it that we're on a globe, like, because they don't know to read, to do the research, the science, the maths, all that stuff. I was teaching them math as well as how to read, both, because if you don't know how to read, good chance you don't know how to do math either. And so when you don't know how to do either one, how can you prove or disprove what they're telling you? You're being met with an awesome force of people, or perceived awesome force of people, saying, yes, it's this, and we all know it, and we've proved it. And eventually you just got to go along to get along. We all went through this in school too. Like, wait a minute, how does the water stick when it spins though? Shouldn't it? And can you imagine being these teachers that have to put up with this every year? In second or third grade, when they introduce this, every year your students are going to do the same thing. You got to roll your eyes. All right, look, you get on the chalkboard, and then they look, and then when the questions get too much, it's all right. Go get outside. Go sit in the hall. Like, this is, I was kicked out of class all the time because my questions kept going and going and going.
I wish I had been that present as a child. I mean, I have to admit, I was so wrapped up in weird insecurities and like, like living in my own head and like, oh, am I going to be accepted by other people? It didn't occur to me to like actually question what teachers were saying. And that should, I'm just admitting that up front. It's disappointing to me looking back on my own childhood. I wish I had been one of those renegade kids that like got sent to the principal's office for not like agreeing with the teacher, but I'm not one of those. Sadly,
they used to say to me, "Go sit in your chair." I had my chair outside the principal's.
That's awesome.
I got into maybe one fight a year, so I had a chair for that. But I was mostly at the principal's office for what they would call classroom disruption, and it was just me, kind of making fun of the information and asking too many questions, and they call that disruption because my questions made people laugh. Because they were very basic, fundamental questions that just, I don't know, it sparked laughter. And so when you're making people laugh, you're disrupting the class. So, and I was in a Jesuit Catholic school, which is very strict. I mean, the nuns were hitting us well past the law. Like, the law said you can't hit kids anymore, but they're nuns. We called them ninja nuns. They would break out the yardstick.
Nice. Yeah.
And yeah, I got whacked in the knuckles, in the ass, all that shit till I was like probably in 4th grade. I got hit in 6th grade. I mean, by the teachers. Like, it's just a regular thing.
Wow.
In the Catholic schools back in the 80s and late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, they were still hitting kids, which I was getting hit at home. So this was nothing.
You were just kind of like, well, this must be what the world is. Getting hit.
I had well, I had an alcoholic father, and how it goes with that. So,
yeah,
but
I sure
what they were doing to me in school is, and most people have alcoholic parents, at least one. That's actually regular to have 2 sober parents who, morning, dear, that's only on TV.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
it exists on TV and Facebook.
What's your
Look at us on our vacation. They'll do a selfie and they're smiling on a ski trip, but off camera. Ah, I said put it here. No.
we
But the
just
perception deception,
we just had another special guest drop in here, guys. I'm gonna introduce her real quick. This is Marlena. Um, she's part of a culture that was not taught this globe nonsense,
Oh,
and
awesome. We were just talking
so
about it.
we were talking about her earlier, and somebody in the chat's like, "Hey, I could try to go grab her if you guys want," and I said, "Yeah, do that." Marlena and I have been
I
we've been running into each other all over the place lately. How you
I
doing?
know. I'm good. It's nice
Good.
to see you guys. Nice to see you, Jibby.
Yeah, you
And who's
too.
that, Louie? Nice to meet you, Louie.
You as well.
I was
Yeah,
talking
very
about
cool.
this map when you were saying that there was 26 lands. Like, I thought
That's
that was
right.
fascinating.
Yeah, because I know many people heard this in their past. If they ever hear Native people talk about Turtle Island, and the reason why we call that is because there's 26. Um, every turtle has 26. What do you call those? Capice? Are they called capice or whatever? Carapace? Those pieces? The scoots? Okay, every turtle has 26 scoots. So this is why we call it that, is because, sorry, my dog is just a little brat. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, so what happens is when you look at the true flat Earth, right? It has these 26 scoots just like a turtle does. That's the only reason why we call it Turtle Island. And us being in the center, so that's 27 altogether, because we're the center. And then you got your 26. Every turtle that you'll ever see will have the 26 scoots on them. And then we consider like the living part, the essence or whatever would be us in the very middle. And then it spreads out into all these other places. We've always known about them. So I can't debate this globe for people who want to debate. I can't do that because I wasn't brought up knowing that stuff.
That's crazy. Which is not.
Yes.
We're the ones who are crazy, actually. But
Yeah. Well, I don't understand how. And I get to that thing where people say, well, how do you know that you're not wrong? And we're all right. I hear that a lot. And I'm like, well, because it just doesn't make sense. Even when I learned about the spinning globe and all that jazz, no matter how many times different people explained it to me, it still didn't whatsoever. It still doesn't. I still can't wrap my mind around it, right? But my whole community is brought up this way. My children, my parents,
So what's what? Maybe I'm just missing it. What I mean,
spit
is
it out?
there proof
Proof?
of like these 26?
Yes.
Like
there
where
is.
does this
We have.
information come from?
Okay, so this is what happens in our community. When we're taught history, right? There has to be at least 2 medicine men and quite a few elders have to sit there during any kind of a teaching. And so our stories do not change. Okay. There's no Chinese whispers. They used to call them Chinese whispers. When you tell somebody something, they whisper it, and then the next person says if they add something, and then the next person will add something. Well, we never did that. Our story never changed. And we have this in documented diaries from people all these years. We have hieroglyphs and everything in our stuff like that. We have stuff that is done in stone. And the reason why it's done that way, and it's done in like moose horn, stuff like that, stuff that can't be can't be rotted, something that can't rot away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these same stories just remain the same. And we do these teachings every year, and we invite people every July. We have powwow every year, for all people, not just Native people, but for all people to come and learn, because not knowing, like I mean, I wasn't stupid, you know what I mean? It's not like I didn't know what was going on the outside. It's just the fact of sticking with our culture and sticking with our natural traditions, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And the reason why we know this stuff is because these places were accessible at one time.
How far
Where now
back
they
would you
aren't.
say your teachings go? Is there? I mean, is there?
15 to 20,000 years. The oldest, and it was done by Oh, I'm so sorry. You guys got me when I just walked in the door.
It's no problem.
When they carbon dated, it's called a radiocarbon date. It's the most efficient way. When it was radiocarbon dated, the oldest story, which is on this piece of leather, right, was dated to be 15,000 to 20,000 years old.
Wow.
I'm leaning more towards 20,000-year-old because the way that this lady, her name is Maura, she taught forensic anthropology here in our community. That way, if we find bones and stuff, that we can tell how old they were. She taught our whole community this, and she's quite popular in finding. Let's say if she finds bones or whatever, she can tell you how someone died, how old they were, and all that. How old they were when they died. Well, she ended up teaching us this, so we have this kind of a knowledge inside our community. She couldn't get over it. She's stunned by how old, like, everybody had kept their stuff. And the reason why all our tribes are named different things, a lot of people don't realize this. At one time, whole North America was one tribe, right? And so with me, I'm a Micmac. I'm from the Micmac tribe. And the reason why we named our names all different is so that we could find each other, because there were seers that knew that the blue-eyed people were coming. This is what they call them, the blue-eyed people. They were coming because they've seen it in their visions and stuff. And they knew they were coming from these other lands. They didn't know that it was going to be anything, dangerous, because, we come from a very kind of people.
Yeah.
So we named each one of our tribes are named differently so that they know where we could find each other. So Micmac here, what that means is the people from the dawn, which they knew that they could find us here on the East Coast.
Gotcha.
Each one is named after where they are, just because so that we could all find each other very easily. But yeah, being a flat earther, which I don't even consider it, it's not even an issue here. I mean, it's nothing that people even bother. It's not.
It's like you would call it. You
It's not a big
basically
deal.
call yourself an earther because
Yeah,
it's
just a human being. Yeah.
You don't have to label it that way. You don't have to
No.
even quantify it the way that we do because, yeah, I'm just fascinated by that. I would really love to get your personal story into Flat Revival magazine. I mean, I don't know if you're down to do that, but I would love to do it.
Sure.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be fine. Yeah, I'm up with that.
Yeah.
Someone asked me, you and I talked, Ty. Asked me when did I ever think about the globe? When I was seeing the globe, and I was thinking, well, maybe that was an aesthetic reason. It wrapped into a ball like that, so it's easier for people to look at. You know what I mean?
That is, my girlfriend
big
said
piece of
that
paper.
when I talked about, was talking about trying to describe to her about you and your background. She's like, well, maybe they just saw it as some kind of, yeah, they knew it was out there, but they thought it was just some kind of aesthetic way to represent it or something.
Yeah, and it makes sense that way, but it doesn't and also if people don't know who I am, I'm also a pilot. So I see the flat plane from every direction. And there's a lot of times where people say, well, how come no one ever said anything to you or that way? But, as soon as you say you're native, people back away. They don't touch that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh, okay, she's native. Let's,
Right.
They don't make a big deal out of it.
Well, that's because anything that's going to come out of your mouth is going to be mystical.
Yeah, especially
Right.
all the questions lately, right? With witchcraft and magic was legalized here in Canada a couple months ago.
Right.
So it's like, okay, they're really not going to touch this.
They're not going to touch it. Right. Right. Well,
yeah,
we
because you can
are.
look up anywhere. Every tribe believes the same thing. I shouldn't even say believe. We know.
Yeah, it's a knowing, not a believing necessarily, because you trust the chain of information, which is exactly what you described. It was a
right
and
experience, right?
That's powerful.
Ty.
Yeah, that's powerful.
It is. It's all about experience. If you can't experience it, if somebody's only sat in a classroom all their life looking at the spinning little ball, that's all you're going to know.
Right.
To me, I find that everybody that's learned or taught this way was in some sort of a jail, like you were mentally held hostage, and I consider it that way.
I
Only
agree.
because it's
That's why we've been starting our live streams lately with what would be termed chain gang music, you know, classic
Yeah.
recordings of people in prison making music, and you know, it's a metaphor for that, the very thing you just said. And I think we all have been raised in a kind of prison.
Right. And music is the first sounds, right? And music was the way we all communicated. That's why when you hear our language or in our music, you hear the hey ya, hey ya, that stuff. That's our original sounds were music, and that's how we all communicated.
Yeah.
Everybody did, not just us. Everybody. That's how we all communicated.
Nice. Nice. Well,
Yeah, and go for it. I'm sorry. I keep cutting you
we
off. I'm
no,
sorry.
it's no problem. We well, we've got Jibby on here, and we're presenting a bunch of evidence to show that this globe thing, this heliocentrism, is not something that was accepted 500 years ago. In fact, it's a very recent phenomenon. So, you know, I love having you here. But I still want. He has a bunch of stuff to present that I'd like him to continue
Well, I
presenting
could listen
Yeah,
to
too.
her
I'm
go
sorry.
on about the native
I
all
just let it
day.
go real quick. I just wanted to say where I stand. That way, everyone knows. The ones that don't know who I am. I mean, I'm not popular or anything. I just know on the flat Earth community, I'm
Yeah,
asked a
you're
lot of
popular.
questions. So I try to answer them really, really quick. You know what I mean?
And
That way.
No,
firsthand information.
that's what we
Sorry,
love.
Jibby.
We wanna continue talking to you about this and having you share that. I'd like Jibby to share a little bit, you know, some more of this info, and then we can get into like a
Can I say
more.
something real quick?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna say something really fast.
do it.
That picture, that is it you, Jibby, that has it up?
Yep.
Okay, that picture is almost exactly what ours looks like. I was saying I've been trying to draw it out because we're not allowed to take pictures things here. And it's just the way it is.
I
I go
get it.
by, I have to listen to it. I'm not allowed to take pictures. But I did ask for permission to draw it out. So I am in the process of drawing out. But that right there, it looks almost like it. So what you do is when you what do you call it? Like section them out. You section them out in pieces, and it looks like the turtle shell. Like some of these are a little bit closer, some of them a little bit farther away, but that really looks like we were taught.
That is really cool.
And is that the limit?
No,
Is that the limit of it all?
No, that's not the limit. You figure there's 26 of these pieces around you, and us, the middle center, that's us, right? And then there's the 26 around us, which why it looks like the turtle shell. Some of these are supposed to be grouped together.
Right.
And then there's more.
And so it's more, you guys are more infinite plane?
Right. I would think. Even though there is kind of a... I would say, I don't see if that... See, that's as far as we went, I think. I don't really know. I just know that there's 26 of these lands around us.
I would think you would need something fairly modern to go all the way through all of them and come back and report. What you've seen.
I don't know how much you guys believe in energy, but
The Force
right.
everywhere.
Yeah. But the Northern Lights, medicine men and their people used to travel.
Now, do you see that as is that emanating from the center? Is that a...
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yep.
And that
people come from all over the world to see this thing, like to come to it. Where we live, we say it's beautiful. And every kind of science, and I say that very loosely, that try to describe what Northern Lights were, nobody can describe it, or they can't give me the proper reason for it. How do we know it wasn't for travel? And it still is, still is, because they don't let nobody go there, right?
Yeah, there's a serious party there that I need to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Just follow the lights.
No doubt. Man, we all need to... Flat Revival needs to plan a trip to the North Pole for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to get there before we definitely get cancer and the insurance companies lean everything that we own to pay for our treatment.
Treatment.
Treatment. I never even thought about that. It's terrible.
It's a treat. Oh,
Yeah.
oh man. Words. Like we were talking about language earlier, and the words are so tricky.
English is a very hard language to learn.
You pretty much have to be a Jedi just to maneuver and survive.
And you guys speak backwards,
Yeah.
So yeah.
You speak backwards?
Yeah.
I think we
Yep.
do.
What
I
you say,
had
I do not know.
I had
yeah, you guys speak just like what's his face, Yoda.
yeah, I had a very difficult time learning other languages in school, and some people are good at that and some aren't, but I do think that has something to do with it. I think that English is backwards from most languages.
Oh yeah. So now, Ty, when you learn any Latin language, if you want to learn them, just look at an English sentence and put it backwards, and then you'll get it.
There you go. It'll make more sense. Okay.
Everything.
I wish
They
my
just
teacher
invert
had explained that to me, because maybe I would have got it earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to put like the adjective behind the word instead of in front of the word.
Right.
Like a large house would be a house large. Yeah.
Yeah. Because our language too, like my first language is Mi'kmaq, right? Our language is not like one word means so much. And I was telling people many times, I wish you guys could speak my language because then you'd understand more. Because we have words that you guys don't have
Oh yeah.
that I can't explain. Because one word, no matter where I put it, it could totally change the story. You know.
Yatahai.
Shut up. You're terrible. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, what words? What words? Like an example.
Okay, say if somebody says Maida Lane, which is how are you, right? I'll say Muchkajawe. And a day, that could mean anything. It could mean on top of the world, which would be the very best you could be, which I can't really describe it exactly what that word means in English, but it's basically the very best that you could be, or very like on the very top, right? But if I said it late in the day, it doesn't mean it anymore. It means more like, okay. You know what I mean? So
Wow,
Muchkajawe.
interesting.
So if you ever run into a Mi'kmaq and they ask you how you are, say Muchkajawe.
Run into a Micmac. I've never even heard of one. This is fascinating.
Well, you heard of Algonquins, right?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh
You'd
my
be
gosh.
amazed how little the majority of Americans know about any tribal culture whatsoever,
Look,
Marlena.
Yep.
Look, Americans,
Most people.
we just want
Wow.
to learn about ourselves.
We're
But you
narcissistic
guys are all
assholes.
native. No matter which one of you guys look back into your ancestry, you're going to know that you're native too. So
It's
Sure.
true. I agree with that.
you guys are children of us. Just because we kept our bloodline a certain way doesn't mean that you guys are not part of it. Everybody is mixed now, right?
Yeah.
So how-
I'm 100%.
How did your tribe look at that? It seems like you're pretty.
Well, we love
you're
each
pretty
other, right?
accepting.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're too accepting, I think. Too accepting at
Maybe.
times.
Maybe.
Yeah, come on in my house.
But you
Get
know
out.
this if you weren't, this conversation that we're having wouldn't be possible.
That's right. Yeah. But
And
even Karen asked me one time, "Well, how come you don't hate us?" And it's like, why should I hate you? There's no reason. There's no room. We don't even have a word for hate in our language. There's no word for hate. So what does that say?
Nice. Yeah.
What's the word for that feeling?
You don't have that. There's no word for it. When you say it, when you hear someone say talking like this, they'll use the English word because we don't have that word.
But you guys certainly, like what Jibby was getting at, you guys certainly experience that feeling.
Oh yeah, like a discomfort.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
but the the word hate is a learned behavior that you learn when you're little.
Sure.
Okay, that's a learned behavior. If you're not learned that behavior or taught that behavior, you're not going to turn around and hate things. You know, it's hard to explain if you don't experience it. But I mean,
Ah,
of
I
course,
get it.
later on in life, I experienced it very much so. But then you have to refocus yourself. What's that?
Once you learned English.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Once the language informs us in how to feel sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, that's
True.
unfortunate. Powerful
Okay, I'm sorry
stuff.
for cutting you off, Jibby. Yeah, it's a
No,
good panel. Good guys.
don't be apologize for anything. It's all great stuff. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy that you invited me in.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Wobbly, for
Yeah,
tracking me down.
Wobbly Boost. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I wasn't even in the house. He's like,
So
you know
that's
Ty?
good.
I'm like, yes, I know Ty.
Yeah, it's like the past week. It's just been like we couldn't turn around without bumping into each other.
I know. Isn't that funny?
Well, yeah, I
It was
think
meant
it
to
was
be.
exactly what it was meant to be. Exactly. Yeah.
And Wobbly helped us from Tomorrowland because he's in Monday.
Right? He came from the future.
He helped us from the future.
I love it. I love it, you
I
guys.
still don't get that stuff. Get time zones, man.
Yeah, it's
I know.
weird. So Jibby, drop some more stuff on us so we can completely talk about something else.
So where did you get this, Jibby? Where did you get this specific article?
This is from an article. Where is it? Pacific Commercial. Barely read that. It's online. I forgot what the Pacific Commercial. I can't read that. Adverb. I don't know. I can't read it. I pulled it up just, searching for flat earth articles, like just flat earth article, look at images and you can trace it back. But somebody was posting this around like last year or whatever. And it just reminded me of you talking about the 26 lands. And so I thought this would be a good representation of both cultures. This is from Chinese, I believe. This was the Chinese map. Interesting how the cultures, when it tends to kind of tell the same story, it adds a lot of validity to, especially being so far apart, the different cultures. So I think we're on to something with a little substance here we can put our teeth into with this type of an image.
Right.
But I just don't.
You guys heard of a medicine wheel before, right?
Yeah.
Or Mandelas and stuff like that.
Yes.
Well, we always knew there was other races of man. And you could tell this just by looking at a medicine wheel because we have the black, white, yellow, and red. And those are also for the directions. So each direction is where these different people were. I'm just letting you guys, we did know of other people. And that's kind of a proof, too, because we've always had the medicine wheel.
Yeah.
How does the sunlight get to them is my biggest query.
They have their own suns, though, right?
I don't know.
No, I'm telling you.
Oh, you're telling me that there's another sun that we just can't see because of vanishing point.
Sometimes you can see these. Sometimes people get them. Sometimes, like I have a video where you can actually see one. Only because I'm so far up north, right? Okay, I'm in Canada, by the way, for people that don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in the Northeast. Sometimes people do capture the suns.
And I think it's important to note. I mean, what I've been coming to is that I'm trying to avoid thinking of the sun as a physical object, which I know is difficult for people. But I think that it's mostly it's a projection of an energy source from somewhere else, and it doesn't.
It's an entity.
It appears.
Yeah.
It appears where it needs to from your perspective. It's it can't easily be explained, but it's not as easy as saying here is this singular physical object and it's here. You can track it specifically. I think it's even possible for what we call the sun to be in more than one place at one time, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You know,
It
I
does.
don't know.
See, when you unlearn, because you guys have to unlearn all this stuff, right?
We do.
When you learn the logical, the most straightforward way, it makes more sense to you, doesn't it? Like if you could do a little memory erase of this, saying that's a fireball. Now you put fire near a plant. What's going to happen to your plant? You're going to kill your plant. You're going to catch it on fire. It's going to die, right? But you put your plant near lamps and electricity, and your plant's going to flourish and grow. And people have to remember that. Just thinking a ball of fire above you, we'd all be burnt. Like the plants and everything wouldn't grow if it was fire.
And our sunburns are electric burns.
Exactly.
But I would assume that another sun, let's say the one out here is red, that's going to have a whole different effect on our cells, molecular density, all that. And this, now we can go back to like the stories of Superman. You know what I'm saying? Superman, when he came in contact with the yellow sun, it changed his molecular density, made him Superman. Well, they invert the truth. So let's reverse it. And that's why they're not coming here, because the yellow sun probably weakens them.
Well, the way it's taught to us is the reason why they're not coming here is because they're afraid of being killed. Because no matter how many times people did try to whatever overhear people, the first thing they do is kill each other. Would you want to come to a place where the first thing they want to do is kill you?
This may be not the first place I'd like to visit. No.
I'm being totally honest with you. These other places don't carry weapons. They don't live the way we do.
Right.
They help each other, period.
They would definitely have different lifespans. I mean, because the sun is giving off radiation. And I would assume different suns give off different types of radiation. It would have an effect on lifespan. And if we branched out and was the influence of the other sun, we might live to 1,000 years, like the stories in the Bible, and Noah's having kids at 500 and stuff like what? Like how? But yeah, I don't know. Definitely, they're holding this information from us.
It did.
For a reason.
Okay. Here's a question.
Because it's a control.
Based on this information, okay, that there are these established other lands, okay. What's the context for them wanting to keep us in the birdcage? Why do they want us to keep us away from these other lands? Is it some kind of agreement? Is it? Why are they trying to keep it secret?
The treaty shows it right there. The treaty shows it. I mean, all these places signed a treaty. These places that don't even talk to each other, don't even like each other. Agreement not to go over there.
So what power? So do the lands outside of the birdcage we live in have power over the lands inside of this birdcage? Is that? And they're telling? Are they telling? They're like, look, you guys are too violent. You're too. Keep them out of here, or what's the motivation?
Yeah, it is. It's like we're the ghetto of.
I mean, I've had these thoughts. I've had these thoughts. Like maybe we're just like the scum of this whole thing, and they're like, we can't have them coming over here because they're going to infect us with their bullshit.
Well, why
or diseases?
Right.
What makes us inside what Ty's calling the birdcage different from those outside? I mean, logically, you'd have to assume at some point we all live together. What would have happened to make us who live here now sequestered from everybody else?
Because we're a dangerous species. You know, weapons.
So they are a different species, is what you're saying then?
Well, I don't mean it like species that way. I'm talking about the way we're brought up. Yeah, I think they would look different because we have a creation story. They do look different. Each one of them look different. You know, it sounds weird, but you know, giants and stuff. That's in our stories about. You know, there's 17 races of man, and they're all sent out to these places. You know. And one day when we get a chance, I could tell you guys the whole entire creation story that we have. It just take really long. And there were 17 races of man sent out to all these places. And they're supposed to stay there and do what they're supposed to do.
Which is what? Pay taxes?
No, that's the thing. You know, we're hostages here. I really know that. We're not supposed to live like this.
No,
We're not supposed to be. You know?
So maybe I think maybe Ty may have already asked this. Maybe I missed the answer. So who's keeping us hostage then?
The government.
So then they're working. Well, they live the good life on our blood, sweat, and tears here, and they don't want to, lose their meal wagon, because without us, they have to work. They have to, cook their own meals and put their own underwear on and things like that.
That's right.
They don't do. So they want this system to stay the way it is that lifts them up. And
oh my God, would you want it to change if you had people doing everything for you?
Absolutely not. So from their perspective, they want this to keep going.
Yeah.
And they control all the information and imagery, and basically they teach us what our reality is.
But in terms of this model that the map, the 26 other lands, is the government just as much of hostages as we are, and they just happen to rise to the top, and they're the big fish in the small pond?
No, I doubt it. I really doubt it. Just because, the way that the way we're supposed to be living is we're supposed to be helping each other. We're supposed to prosper together, and they have their fear as their currency. So the more they keep people scared, the more they want to stay in their homes. They don't want to do stuff. Just work the daily grind, right? Because it is. As soon as people start getting free, and the truth starts coming out about something, what do? They cause this great big thing to happen, these false flags, they create these huge, scary things for people to get really scared, and then, we have to stay home, and everybody get their water together and stay home, because they're scared.
Milk, bread, and eggs, the storm's coming, and those are the three things that will go bad the fastest when the power goes out. They have us trained like idiots.
Yeah.
And we think like the way they want us to think. Like they control our thought process, like how we think of things, how we think of ourselves. Like it's severe mind control.
You're right. Mm-hmm. And look at women. We're always competing about how we look. And we're only competing with each other. It's not even, they show this thing on TV. Every woman has to wear it.
Yeah.
They control what everybody buys. The consumers, they're totally in control of everything.
Yeah, we only have their options, which is now turning into Chinese Hong Kong goods that last a year.
Yeah. Well, look at when one of the iPhones come out, or one of the Xbox games come out. The lineups are ridiculous for these things.
Yep. Yeah, these people need real problems.
Yeah.
And we're creating massive amounts of junk too by manufacturing products that don't last very long. Just increases garbage. It's more and more destruction. It's like a society of destroying this place. So they're governing it, but they're also massively destroying it on purpose. Mm-hmm. Why? The Bible people will tell you it's Satan's influence and control over it, and there's other cultures that say different things, but they are destroying it. They're taking the oil out. They're killing the lands. They're spraying sky. Why are they destroying it? Like, wouldn't they want us to keep going? Well, they're trimming our lives down just right, because by the time you should be getting Social Security, that's when you have cancer, and all your assets will be gobbled up by them in liens for your treatments. And yeah, they had it just right now, because once you're retired, you're a useless eater. You do nothing for them. Now you're just a sponge. You just required being taken care of. So they got it down just right around. You get cancer right around your
50s, 60s.
Yeah, late 50s, early 60s. And then the treatment will last like 3 to say 7 years, or usually when you run out of money, that's when they're like thinking about end of life care and hospice and all. And it's all set up now, and it's going to affect everybody. But that's when people will start to care and wake up, is when it hits home.
Yep.
Then they'll hit the research. Then they'll come across all this stuff when it's too late.
You know, my aunt just died. She was 102 years old.
Nice. Wow. I want to
Yeah.
eat whatever she was eating. Yes. But that's
We
it.
live off the land. That's the thing, right? People don't do that anymore. We do here. We have our community gardens, and we have like we do our annual hunt together, and you know, 2 moose will feed our whole community. You know, we have our stuff people don't do this. I couldn't believe that shit. That I gave some seeds to this kid, this teenager, because I worked at a group home helping teenagers, right, for a while, and I gave him some seeds out of my pepper, you know, a green pepper. And he never knew that grew stuff. I mean, that blew my mind. This kid was 16 years old and didn't know that these seeds make plants. I met up with him like 2 years later. He said, "Oh my God, you wouldn't believe that seed you gave me? I had all these peppers, all these plants." He had no idea.
Yeah.
I lived in Haiti for 3 months, and we were teaching people how to do that, how to garden. Their government don't tell them. Either you're rich or you're poor. That's it. There's no in between. You know, and there were so many times where someone would come in the middle of the night and tear all our vegetables up. You know, it was ridiculous.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's control.
It's insanity. This place is infected with insanity.
It's weird, isn't it? People forgot how to love each other.
People forgot how to love themselves. You have to love yourself first.
Definitely.
And all this television and this culture does is humiliate you and make you feel inferior. And over time and years and constant repetition, yeah, you grow a depression, you grow a self-hate. And then people...
You're not good enough.
Yeah, you're never good enough. You're never thin enough. You're never good looking enough. You're never good enough at whatever you're doing. You know, if you got 10 first place, well, somebody got 11. You know, it's chasing the carrot. Try harder.
And what that does, it sets you on this endless cycle throughout your entire life, to where you're always trying to get to where you think you're supposed to be, even though you'll never get that.
Right.
You know, so it's this lifetime of arbitrary searching.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to wasting your time.
It's something Louie and I talk about a lot, because we've wanted to be writers our whole lives, and we kind of have this image of what a writer is supposed to be, and we're always chasing that kind of phantom and never living up to it, so we always feel like we're failing all the time, you know.
And it's never even existed in the first place. That's how good they are at at getting into everybody's head and shaping their reality. I mean, that's a crazy fucking idea to think. It's what's going on. They're shaping our reality.
They create the template that everyone follows, and then that results in everyone being the Borg.
Right.
You know? How many times do they make fun of us, but they're all the Borg. They always say the same exact thing. Oh, Earth's flat. Well, where's picture of the edge? It's like, wow, that's the first time I've ever heard it. You people all think and say the same things. That's the Borg.
Program response, right?
Yes, it's a programmed automatic, and it's word for word verbatim. Yep. How is that possible? But it happens. And they all say the same exact things. It's encountered that over the past 3 years. Same exact response. My friends on Facebook, they're like, man.
There's 3 of them. There's the anger. There's one type of program response is they get real angry with you. The second one is they do that, what you just said, with dismissive or, you know, that kind of thing. And the other one, they just don't care.
Yeah, but it's a template. That's an exterior template that was created, and people just pick their template that they feel that most resonates with them. Whether it's, okay, I'm going to dye my hair black, I'm going to wear black lipstick, I'm going to tattoos, I got to get these piercings, okay, and then I got to go to Hot Topic and buy these clothes. Now I'm this template. Okay, well, I like sports. Okay, I got to shave my head, wear a baseball cap with my favorite sports team, got to wear the jersey. I have to like buffalo wings. I watch Sports Center, and then you're that template, and it's just the Borg. It's just different Borg drones. You're just drones. That's all
Yeah.
you are. You think the same. You talk the same.
Yeah.
You're all the
But
same. There's no more. They robbed uniqueness.
is resistance futile? Which is what they'd like us to
No, because
believe.
we've all been resisting, and has it been futile? No.
I don't
I
know.
mean, I don't.
I don't think so.
What do you mean by that, though? I don't understand that question.
Is it futile? Have you ever watched Star Trek?
Yeah, and that's
Well,
why
the Borg,
that kind of a life.
The
Yeah, go
tagline
ahead.
for the Borg is resistance is futile. Like there's no
Right.
avoiding it. You're going to be assimilated one way or the other.
And we have been in some way or another. We're just not on the basic simpleton Borg level. We're probably just a higher intellectual level of assimilated,
Yeah.
which we are.
But I'm not foolish enough to think that I'm still not falling for some of their traps. You know.
Oh, you do
That's-
every day.
You know,
Everybody does.
Yeah, exactly. And I
You
don't.
can't avoid them when you don't know all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think
We're sitting on a computer right now.
we should be leery of people who claim to have avoided all the traps, or that they've
Yeah.
transcended above all of it. It's we're all susceptible on some level to some of the nonsense that they're pushing.
But we're
Well, yeah, because
we're revealing
when
their
they
trick.
say that, yeah, because they tell you the only way you're accepted if you have money. I don't get that. The only way that that you're the best and most powerful is if you have money, which is bullshit.
And I
know some
as
total assholes who are rich.
As an authentic
Uh-huh.
person trying to make money in this world, I find it very difficult. I have problems making money.
And you always will because you're not one of them.
Exactly. And I've come to understand
You
this.
turn into one of them, you'll be rich.
I'm not, because I have these kind of boundaries I won't cross, and there are things that I want to hold fast to. There's no way I'm ever going to get to the point where I'm making that kind of money. It's just not going to happen. And I'm out.
Morals, right?
It just means I have to work twice as hard to make enough money to do the things I want to do, and that I'm becoming okay with that. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Can you
Cost of
imagine
living.
in a life where you could turn around and because you're friends with certain people and I'm not talking about money wise, I'm talking about helping each other. Like say because I'm a pilot, we could turn around and hey, let's go on a vacation somewhere just because we're friends, and that you do something for me, I do something for you. Like if you're gonna help me with my garden,
Yeah.
or help me put a window in my house. Hey, we'll go for a flight down wherever. That's how it should be.
That is how it should
That's
be.
how life should be.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. And they say be the change you want to see. I'm
That's right.
being that change, and yeah, it goes against the grind of everyone around me, but I can look at myself in the mirror and I don't hate myself, and and I don't. What Flat Earth has done for me is it made me see like, wow, my parents were so deceived and they were only doing what they thought was right. So it brought a lot of like past healing, healing of my past, and a lot of people too. Like you think about, wow, like we were all so deceived. It wasn't their fault because of the situation and the control system and the mind control and all. It wasn't their fault. Like, oh, all right. And I don't know. It's a lot of healing. Flat Earth is not just a physical thing. It's most of the change is internal.
I love
'Cause,
that.
when you look outside, globe Earth or flat Earth, it still looks the same. But the flat Earther on the inside is what changes. You change on the inside. It's more of
love
an
that.
internal thing to me, abstract,
Yeah, you're right.
and it's a good change. It's a change for the better because the globe mentality is selfish. It's egotistic. It's the egocentric model, I call it.
The egocentric. I like that, dude.
Yes.
Oh,
The egocentric model.
I'm so stealing that.
stealing it, too.
I'm still stealing
The
it, and
world
like I'm
revolves
not
around
even.
me. It's the
I'm not going to
egocentric
give you
model.
any credit either. I'm going to steal it and call it my own.
Yeah.
But you
the
know,
world
when you lay
revolves
your
around
head
that.
down at night, you didn't cut somebody's throat to get where you are. And you know, another thing I noticed about quote unquote flat earthers, I don't even like calling it that, but us awake people, I call us the woken, because people are woken, right? Is all of the natural cures that I see. Well, like, hey, this worked for me. And you know, and this worked for me. This is all natural shit that's coming out for a lot of people. You know, the CBD oil helping people, like curing them. You know, this kind of
Yes.
stuff is beautiful because now that this and I've watched the flat Earth community grow. I remember when there was only like maybe 20 people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
It
all
was
of a
tough
sudden
in the
it's
beginning.
beautiful. Yeah, there's millions now.
I
It
know.
feels
I know.
like there
It's
might be
incredible.
millions. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to measure.
There is.
I would
I belong
love.
to a lot of them, a lot of these groups. I'm just saying, since I've noticed that it started to flourish, and what happens is it goes through waves, and it's the same pattern of waves. Like I see it, I totally see it, and it correlates with the Schumann resonance. So I'm not wondering if Mother Earth's frequency
Is rising.
is the one that's causing us,
Yeah,
and a lot
yeah,
of us
yeah.
to.
And this is what I think this multi-tower grid is trying to suppress as well, putting us in like a Faraday cage electronically. So it's cutting us off from the Earth's natural frequency or the sun's, whichever one is
Yep.
rising up, because it does seem to be an increase in the frequency. So they're caging us. So, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's multiple
People are
uses.
having them.
Chemtrails. The chemtrails like the lid on the microwave door. So we're all being defrosted at like 0.005%, very slowly, microwaved. It's we got to get out of this. We got to take these things down or leave. It's one or the other, the way I see it, or we're going to get cancer. This is the way it is.
Well, it's infiltration, and we had to find people that can do the infiltration. And I know there are a few already. I remember about 6-7 years ago, this one guy said he's going to school so he could work at NASA, just so that he could do this and
Nice.
kill people. There's a lot of people doing that. They're doing infiltration. So, I know for sure he's in there only because of the stuff that's been coming out of NASA.
It does seem like they're helping us. Ty and I were talking
Accidentally.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this this is a little aside, but I'm sure most people here are familiar with Enar Kusk, director of Finding the Curve, and he's had a lifetime dream of being connected to Hollywood, being an actor, producing films, and from his, I had a long talk with him a while back. We did a stream, and he was like, people tend to think that the stuff in movies that we pick up on, the stuff that it seems like they're trying to show us something, or a lot of people say, well, they're mocking us. They're trying to, like, they're poking fun at us. But he's like, if Enar Kusk got in a position where he could make a high budget Hollywood film, he'd be dropping hints to Flat Earth in that film. And he would be doing it from an authentic perspective of trying to wake people up. And it's like, well, maybe this is what's actually going on, is that people are in there and they're trying to drop hints. I think that might be more valid.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally with that, because there's certain things like, say, time crystals, that they had discovered these over 20 years ago. They discovered time. Yeah, there's time crystals in the caves. We have them here too. We're not allowed to touch them. We don't touch them. We leave them where they are. Okay. So recently, this is so funny. Recently, this is just this year, we discovered time crystals. And this is this year they're saying this now. When this shit happened years ago, and like in reality, it really happened years ago. And then all of a sudden, I watched a show the other day, some movie, I can't remember which one it was recommended to me. One of the people in my chat room did. And then on there, they're like, time crystals. And making it sound like it's like this big, sci-fi thing. So I came out, those are real.
Okay, well,
Oh, I
hold
gotta
on.
look
Give
at
us some
those.
more background on that time crystal.
Hey, well,
Unless, I mean,
something
if
weird
you
happens
can.
around them. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but you guys could just look it up real quick. I just hate to look it up and then read from something that you guys can read from. But
Right.
basically, what it does is there's this real weird phenomenon that happens around a time crystal, where things seem to slow down.
Okay.
And they could use these for. They've been using them inside motherboards.
Ah.
Also. Yeah.
So
The little
it
tiny
might
crystal.
it will slow something down so it seems like the computer's faster than it is.
Right. Yep.
Because
There's
it's
like
actually I understand that actually makes sense to me.
yeah. But this is a thing that's always been here. But now they're like, oh, check it out, right? So this is really funny. So 1 minute they're saying it's a natural thing that happens inside the Earth, which it is for us here, what we learn. But now they're trying to say, and I think it's so that people don't look for them, is now they're trying to say that scientists are the ones that made them.
Right. They're
Which is bullshit.
Right. That
You realize
we
that
all know that
if you wear
scientists
one-
didn't make they've never made shit. They've discovered things
If you wear
accidentally.
you will slow your aging if you wear one in like a necklace. Theoretically, if that's what these things do,
Mm.
time will
Well,
slow down for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that use those time crystals for a lot of things. They put them in their gardens for their crops to last. Yeah,
right.
they have a different kind of
Who has
energy.
access to these things?
Everybody does.
Where?
Jimmy's like,
Just have to look for
where
what you
can I
look
buy
for,
them on
Jimmy.
eBay? What the fuck?
Probably you never know these days. You probably can.
I'll put them in my shoes. I'll be the Flash. Where are they?
Can you imagine? They're in caves and stuff. You gotta I'm sure, no matter where you live, a total
God.
part of the way that Mother Earth survives. I think that's a big part of it because we know that her water is her blood, right?
Yeah.
We know that that's what keeps her living.
Well,
Hang
I
on.
think the blood is outside the veins.
Yeah. Well, we're the water protectors. Our tribes, right? All native people were always fighting to keep her veins clean.
Yeah.
Well, I think that might have been the cause of this great flood. Is somebody cut her arteries and she bled out.
Oh. You never know.
You know, we're in a pool of blood here. Crime
Yeah.
scene.
Blood.
As
You got the
silly as it
Mariana
sounds to some
Trench
people, but
slice.
it's true.
So
There's a reason why we protect her and protect her blood, her veins, her
They say
water.
there's
Right?
underground oceans.
so
Yeah,
Jibby,
there is. It's cool, right?
I gotta ask, man. I mean, are there a few more things? I mean, I love everything that's been discussed. I love how it's gotten organic. But are there a few more things you'd like to show us about?
I'm gonna post
The
all the
topic.
links to all of this stuff. I'm gonna post them in the comments section. I can post them in the chat.
Okay.
It's basically not something I can narrate entirely through, but it's different clips. This is 1942
Yeah.
in the paper. Like this has been reported in newspapers since it's just constantly. It's just, but it's not. They don't promote it, so you were never aware that these things were being. I got an article coming out in the Boston Globe. Going to be flat Earth related. We're
Right.
going to promote it, but mainstream's not. So a lot of people who don't have the Boston Globe aren't even going to know that article exists. And this is what's happened throughout the entire 19th and 20th century. Flat Earth was constantly being published, constantly.
Are they presented like in a factual way, or are they like
a lot of times-
other
No, a
articles?
lot of times it was you could a lot of times it was you could read the tone of voice basically, like and the word stuff. Theorists, flat earth theorists, they insist that it's this. They deny science, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But it was still published. I mean, they were still giving them attention,
Right,
basically.
right.
Whether it's good or
Right.
bad, it's still out there.
Yeah.
So this is, a lot of people have probably remember talking to their grandparents. Their grandparents were still believing the Earth was flat. Oh, that's nonsense. That the Hollywood movie pictures nonsense. I don't believe any of that crap. Like I remember hearing old men talking like that, born in the in the early 1900s, and remember like just hearing them talk as old men. Like that's all crap. It's always been crap. They just want the and you always think that they're just grumpy old men, but no, then they were grumpy for a reason.
I'm only 36, and that's how I watch movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all just
So-
that nonsense.
If you had to put an estimate on when this thing was
It depends on when the
universally
globe got to you. For America, the globe is only probably 150 to 200 years old for America. The globe has different ages depending on where it got
sure
to, when it got
I
there.
understand that.
So for America, you can't say the globe's 2,000. No, that's what they said. But in America, the concept of it and everything is only about 150 to 200 years old.
And that's just
English,
the concept. That doesn't even mean that it was broadly accepted. It just means the concept was widely
because you're illiterate. So how can you have? Yeah, if you're illiterate, how do you have anything other than just the concept and what they said? You don't know how to do math. You don't know how to read. You know how to survive and take care of your family and get by and work with your community or whatever. You're simple people.
Right.
It was the royalty, the English who were, they always had that pompous attitude. That's the royalty attitude, which the entitlement. And people always emulated it because they're like, oh, I want to be like, look how comfortable they are. Look how they seem so happy. Well, of course, because everybody's doing everything for them and they just pampered. So people, even today, like the royal wedding. Oh, break out to the royal wedding. Who cares about the royal wedding?
That? Yeah, what is that? This not like that we would care about these people. I mean,
yeah. What are you people doing in the UK over there? You have kings and queens, and what are you playing fantasy fairy tale land? Like,
or do these people have actual sway, or do these people are they
allegedly
just
they don't allegedly
right? I mean, they're being presented as just some kind of almost like fictional fantasy representation of something, but then why would we care? Why is it newsworthy? I mean, it's almost like two kids playing house in their basement. Like, are we gonna make that newsworthy because they're having a fantasy? Or
but what are they want? Like, what are they wanting us to see or not see? So there's definitely a reason why it gets so much publicity.
It's to chase the carrot because you look how well off they are. Keep working harder. Keep working out. You know who wins the rat race? Rats.
Yeah.
If they keep people focused on material things, then what they're doing is they're taking away from what you really are. We are spirits having a human experience, where it's not the other way around. And, with us, with our culture, we make sure that we keep certain things intact, like using your sixth and seventh senses, right? By materializing people, it's taken away from their natural abilities that you are born with.
We're all aware of them, basically, but not everybody was taught how to be their Jedi within, which is just what the Jedi is. It's just you're taking full use and awareness of your extra senses and abilities, and that's all it is.
They take away that they do it at a very young age.
Yeah,
by Santa Claus, they'll sit there and they'll make them believe in all this beautiful magic, this Christmas magic, and what do? They shoot you down when you're little. That's not true. Yeah. And then that's when you start losing those certain things that you were born with, your insight.
I've always found that really fascinating. Like, why is that precedent set so early that we're going to be lied to? It almost seems counterproductive.
And it also creates your first distrust of your own family.
Well, it does that.
Right.
It does that for sure.
Like my parents are going to
lie to me about stuff.
Yeah. Now you're being lied to on a fundamental home level. That's your base. And now
Betrayal.
your base foundation is cracked early on.
Well,
Right.
the longer you're in something, the longer it takes to get out.
Mm.
They make you think that your imagination isn't real, and your imagination is a really big part of growing, like to make things materialize or whatever. Sounds kind of like sci-fi, but it's not. You know, I mean, I know every one of you had the feeling when someone walks into the room, you know what they're like without even talking to them.
That's Jedi. Exactly.
Yeah, true. But that's what they're taking away from us. They take that away from. I'm saying us as a group, not as individuals. I'm saying as a group. The most powerful people are the ones that still believe and know. I shouldn't say believe. I don't like that word believe because to me it's a make-believe thing. But when you know that you can do these things with energy, with your own energy, you can heal people and all that stuff. That take that away from you by making you stop believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Yourself.
I have the same feelings about
There's
that word, Marlena. Believe. I'm leery of using it all the time.
Well, that's the first thing that global says to you guys. I notice you believe that.
You believe
You know?
that. I don't
Yeah.
like it. I don't like that word. I try to avoid it.
Yeah.
I told the
same.
Boston Globe, I said, I don't believe the Earth's flat. I know it is.
I know.
Exactly.
I made sure to
Exactly.
keep saying that to him and using the word no. Like
Yeah.
I came to the conclusion because of the facts. Like I was very careful with the words I use.
Well, yeah, because they could twist everything you say around, right?
I know lawyer speak, which is basically just being very precise with your words.
Yeah.
And the concept, they required print and then eventually moved on to moving pictures, movies, and so yes, is your imagination powerful? The globe only exists in your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where it exists. It doesn't exist out in the physical world. It only exists there. So is it powerful?
It's because they said so. Because
Yeah.
they said so.
And your imagination just goes wild with it because they go, look at this picture, this is endless. Look at this picture, this is endless. Look at all these zeros, and then you just your mind is just wow.
See, the biggest deceit that they did to man is saying that there's a beginning and an end. We're with us, we don't believe that. Believe in, I'm saying believe that way. We know that it's always been. And when somebody has their mind narrowed down to, okay, there has to be a beginning and an end, like you live and then you die, that's it. No, it's always been. And once you can crack that away from your system and into your head system, whatever you want to call it, your own little computer head, that there doesn't have to be an end or destruction of things.
Right.
Well, there is for us on a personal level. We have an end, and I think we're probably supposed to live 1,000 years. And it's even said like we get another set of teeth around age 120. Well, why would our bodies be made that way unless we were meant to?
That's right. Our cells regenerate every 7 years. You know that, right? And it's by putting stuff on your skin like sunblock is very bad for you.
Oh, yeah.
That causes cancer. We're not supposed to block out the sun. The sun has the energy the sun has helps us.
I know, but they've convinced people, no, salt is bad, sunlight is bad, water is bad. Like, oh my God.
But no, it's the stuff that they're putting into it is bad.
And then they use the witchcraft because they put on a white coat. Now this costume has a power over you because of the image of it. The police uniform, the white coat, the scientist, the doctor, the title. This is all royalty concepts. So title and stature and bullshit. Just the blue collar people, you want to earn their trust. You the fruits that you bear. A hard day's work, a good handshake, that kind of like man of your word. Their thing is entitlement. It's all entitlement and pomp and circumstance and just it's presentation. It's all
Exactly. And they sit
presentation,
in front of
no
the class.
substance.
See, with us, when you have anything, we have talking circles. There is no up and down. You know what I mean? There's no, okay, everybody's going to sit here, and then there's going to be somebody at the top of the, at the head of the class sitting there, in a higher chair than you. There's not like that when we do teachings. We're all in a circle because we're all equal.
Right. The way it
That's
should
the
be.
reason. That's the reason for talking.
See, they're above everybody. And that mentality, it's kind of like a mental infection where entitlement, it's like a mental infection. And you get infected with entitlement. We all know the type.
Yep.
And they're starting at a young age now, television, teaching kids how to be entitled. And Disney is the devil. My God. The Globe presented by Disney. Like it's just.
It's funny you said that because like the little boy here, I teach him sign language. Well, we teach all our children sign language, but
why do you do that?
Because children know how to speak or know how to communicate when they're little, like in their months. That learning speech or whatever, children learn that at 2-3 years old or whatever. Yeah. But children actually can communicate with you when they're 2-3 months old.
Sure.
So, you know what I mean? So then you teach your children sign language, and no matter where you are, you could speak to anybody with sign language. Even if you don't know sign language and I started talking to you in sign language, you're going to know what I'm saying because you know certain gestures. Oh, okay, that must mean this. That must mean that. Right. But that's just the way we are. If you look at when you watch any native person talk, they talk with their hands. When they're talking.
I used to work with a blind and deaf individual, and we had to do a different kind of sign language with him because we had to make use of his sense of touch. Right. And I communicated with him. He communicated with us, and he was in his 50s, and he was blind and deaf his entire life. So he's never heard or saw anything ever. And he'd sit there and just crack up laughing sometimes. And we would just be like, what the hell is he thinking? Like, and he's just cracking up. But he loved things like candle stores and things like that for the sense of smell. So he only had a few senses. And it was amazing. But hand communications, things like that, and putting his hand up to his mouth. He wants food. He makes a gesture like he's holding a cup. Now he's thirsty when he puts that up to his mouth.
In regular sign language, that's both eat and drink. That's the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. And there was this thing where he had to go to the bathroom. Like something tapped his palm or something like that, or make a fist was a poop.
Yeah.
Different things like that.
It is.
Dude, I'm totally making a fist every time I have to poop now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's funny because anyway, what I was going to get at with that was I had one of his cartoons on, and you know what they were showing is at such a little age is the sun and the planets. I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Wow.
Yeah.
The baby crib, the planets and the stars circling overhead in the baby crib.
Yeah.
They get you there.
It starts so early, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's one thing to have the lights on the ceiling, but the physical spheres in the baby crib thing, like that.
The mobiles.
Now you're starting to envision spheres in the sky, on an unconscious level already. Like, so this is why they're like, of course it's a globe. Of course these planets are spheres, because at the fundamental core level, when you were in the baby crib, that's what you saw. You know, you get programmed, and it's locked in, so it feels like 100% true to you.
So
which is why they won't even entertain the flat Earth thing. But this influence, it's been multi levels.
Yeah.
That goes from toys, baby crib, everything. As industry started to expand and variety, they would stick this their lie, into each one of these mediums. So they're going to get to you one way. You can shut your TV off or your radio. They're going to get to you. Just like today. They'll find a way. It's going to be in something because they own everything. And what they don't own, they will own because they're going to buy you out.
I'd like to ask you guys, like, it's not. There's this channel I sometimes check in with. It's Max Malone or something like that, and he put out a recent video where he basically just saying it's futile. There's no way you're never going to awaken the masses to the flat Earth. It's not going to happen. It was from a Christian perspective kind of thing, and it's like you're just never going to achieve it.
You know what's funny about
And
that?
is that
Is that the
how
Bible
do you?
says it's flat.
I know, and this is
And the Quran.
how do you guys feel? Are we on a futile mission, or
No.
can we
I believe that
we do
we're
this?
wicked. Yes,
They're on
we
the
can.
futile mission.
They are. But, you know, some people just don't want to be woke.
Right.
Some people like being in their little bubble. But no, I don't think it is. I think that, you know, the reason we're waking up when I always say we, I'm talking about masses. The way that people are waking up in these small waves is because, can you imagine if everybody, and I think that Mother Earth did this for a reason, you know, only because, what'd you say? Because everybody, what?
Wait, what?
Oh, my daughter said everybody's ruining the planet.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so what happens is when you're woken up in little pockets like this,
Yeah.
that helps the next person wake up. Now, if you try to wake everybody up at one time, it would be a mass, you know.
There'd be
panic.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heart
It would
attacks.
cause
Yeah.
All
it would
kinds
cause
of
problems on a
Yeah.
scale that would actually hurt people.
Right. So I think it's doing it like this is specific.
And when somebody gets to the level where basically they need to shift the gear because the RPMs are in the red, time to shift gear, they will come into when they're ready. You know, like it's not for everybody at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like people will, whatever the frequency rising up, whatever you want to call it, but this will cross their path, and they'll absorb the truth when they're ready, when there's time, when their systems can handle it, when their mind can handle it. It's not something that we really should be chasing people down and force feeding them with,
Right.
because they might not be ready for that yet, and that could cause more problems.
So you think
It would.
you think that it's an achievable goal?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've been seeing it all these years.
What's our best foot forward? How do we go about this moving forward? I know the internet is a great tool, but I don't think it's the end all be all.
Exactly what you guys are doing
I do
now.
think that we have to go outside our door
Yes.
and actually engage
Like you with your
people.
magazine, right?
Yes.
Like I told you the other day, you with your magazine is perfect because there's a lot of people that don't use the internet.
Yeah.
And we're making headway in different countries and areas where we're getting in the newspaper. The Denver Post, now it'll be the Boston Globe. The UK had publication, so it's getting in the papers,
Yeah.
magazine, and I can't speak for all the flat Earth meetup groups, but in the New England area, we're constantly, like, there's different groups. I just heard of another group last night in this New England area that I wasn't aware of. There's a lot of members of it. We're all going to combine, and we do hit the streets. In fact, Brother Ernest, you guys probably, I don't know if you're familiar with Brother Ernest, the guy with the long hair and the beard, who's
I am.
always right. Well, he's in jail right now.
What?
He got arrested, I think it was Friday. So he's in jail. And Flatpool Josh,
For what?
one of our that I didn't get to the story yet. Like, I was supposed to go to a flat Earth party last night. I was just too tired. I was in Nashua, and Josh was going to tell me the story, but I got to connect with him later today to find out why he's in jail. I don't know, but
Okay.
he's in jail, and as far as I know, he's flat earthing, so it might be related to that. That's all he does. Like, he's very
I've
dedicated.
seen a lot of his stuff, and I know there was an early video of him, right, of the cops kind of coming in on him and supposedly trying to do like a wellness check on his kids and stuff.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen that video, Jibby, but
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe they
I've
tried
been
to
to his
claim
house.
that,
Like,
maybe he tried to, they're trying to claim that there's some kind of child endangerment going on. That seems like the easiest route to getting him in
now
jail.
his kids are fine. I've been to
Of
his
course they
house.
are.
Yeah, and his sister wives are really good. I mean, he's got a
What are
good
you talking
setup.
about? I'm sorry, I missed that
Brother
part.
Ernest, brother
Oh,
Ernest. So I'm assuming he's in jail for flat earthing. I don't know if I can't see the chat right now. Josh was in the chat when we started.
hey,
Maybe
where's
if
Josh?
he's still listening, Josh is flat pool.
Yeah, he's
Flat
really
pole.
neat.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's
Another way to put it out, we talked about this on another panel, you and I, Ty, is there's all these parades coming up.
Mm.
It's a challenge. People could go out and put, because anybody can register a float in the parades. Put a flat Earth float out.
conferences we're
Ooh,
doing.
I like that.
Uh,
Yeah, I
the
do, because
FEMA the FEMA camp is today.
everybody goes to parades. You can put a flat Earth float out there.
Exactly.
Have a thing throwing water, being flat.
Yeah, yeah. So every town, if you guys have parades in your town, get involved. Get flat Earth people together in your
Yep.
town, and yeah, do a flat Earth.
Do a flat Earth
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
And of
That's
course,
easy, and it'll be fun.
there's always
Yeah.
Letters to the editor. Every
Yep.
town, every place has a local publication that you can write letters to. You know, it. We just have to start propagating at the local level, and getting this stuff out there.
It
It's
took
so
years. It
important.
took, but with 9/11, trying to spread 9/11 truth, it took years and years and years to get the numbers that we just got probably in the first year of flat Earth. So this is the one unique conspiracy or whatever you want to call it that has grown the fastest that I've ever seen of all of them. I've been conspiracying 20, 30 years. This is the fastest growing one for a reason, because
Yeah.
it's one that it's taking people out of a lie. It's dehypnotizing them. It's normalizing them because everybody knows something's wrong. They feel it.
Yeah.
And this puts a lot of puzzle pieces together.
Right.
Puts all of them together.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
it
what
does.
I've found most interesting about flat Earth is, like many people who came to flat Earth naturally over the course of the last 5 years. There were so many questions I had, so many things that didn't make sense, and then when I hit on flat Earth, all of a sudden the dots started connecting. It started making a lot more sense, and I find that really interesting, that once you hit on flat Earth, a lot of the other stuff that seemed abstract, that seemed like it didn't make much sense, it starts to make sense.
Yeah, and it turns the volume way down on a lot of the nonsense that was in your life.
Yeah, for sure.
I try to, take breaks from it. I'll play a video game. It's flat Earth in the video game. I mean, I can't like Skyrim. I mean, it's right. Like I can't.
I know, dude. It's like I like video games too. I don't have much time, but I want to play them, and there's all these things I used to enjoy doing, and it's not that there isn't enjoyment there, but there's this sense that like there's this bigger thing that is pulling me.
Yep.
And
Spreading the truth.
I feel bad when I'm not.
Well, you have your motherboard, you have Mother Earth, right?
Yeah, I feel bad when I'm not doing that. I feel bad when I'm not giving my time to this other thing. And
that seems
that's
to be
fine.
how just about all of us feel, because even the people who are attacking the flat earthers are still dedicating every day to trolling or whatever, or just they watch more flat earth videos than we do.
Yeah. But I've seen so many people wake up. I've seen people just, totally wake up. I've seen the biggest global people that were so into it. They were the biggest debaters end up becoming flat earthers, only because they see the truth. Oh yeah, I can't, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, you can only fight it off so long.
Yeah.
And we're coming
And
out
I
with
think,
better and better like imagery and
right.
presentations and proofs, evidences, more and more distant records. Like I found that Beyond Horizons, everybody's using that. It's awesome. It's like distant records of, and you just do the math. Like it's right there. This is, you know, it's not denying science. It's using it. It's not denying math. It's using it. But they invert everything, and they just want to go
If you
to
go
quick
to,
ridicule.
exactly, if you go to oldmapsonline.org,
Hmm.
you can find flat Earth maps there. And these are the oldest of the oldest maps.
Okay,
It's-
what's
it's-
that link?
Oldmapsonline.org.
Old. Okay.
Oldmapsonline.org. I put the link in here in our Hangout.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's awesome. I found so many. And you have to do a lot of research though, like because there's so many.
Right.
But honest to goodness, you'll find some cool maps in there, and they're old. They're from like the 1800s and earlier. There are people mapping out their own where they live, you know, so they're quite exact.
Right. Well, how do you guys feel about this war that seems to be going on with the different flat Earth maps and what have you? I mean, what is that? What
I
is
don't
that?
know.
Is that completely contrived? Is that some kind of
I think so.
oppositional
I think the
distraction?
divide and conquer. Yeah, I think the divide and conquer is a big thing, and it's always has been.
Yeah. So what does that
Get the
say?
flat earthers fighting, right?
I mean, I've been around long enough to I've seen a lot of these, like Flat Earth Asshole. I was there when he posted his first stuff, you know, and there was nothing for me to think that he wasn't being authentic from the beginning. So what's going on when he presents something that is obviously becoming this huge divisive thing? What does that mean? Does it just mean is he? What does that mean to you guys?
I think.
it would
Oh,
be
sorry, Jimmy.
speculating. No, it's just
It's what?
speculation. All we can really do. We don't know how Jake really feels and what's going on. I can only speculate.
Right.
I think if we put our minds together, regardless of how they think that the lands are situated, their truth is still the same. It's flat.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's some kind of there's always something trying to destroy our communities.
Yeah.
You know, fighting amongst each other and all this stuff is just, you know, ridiculous.
I agree. I mean, I think there's a
Well, it's
core.
like the
I
flat
think
Earth
if we just have this, we should just have this core foundation that we all can agree on, and anything above that core foundation, we should say is like, okay, this is just like interesting conversation. We can debate it, but it shouldn't separate us.
Exactly.
You know, and I think we should just have that core foundation established where it doesn't matter what you do above that line. It shouldn't be a divisive thing.
No, there
flat
shouldn't be
Earth
all these.
research.
Exactly, there shouldn't be all this character assassination going on.
This
No.
flat Earth research community is flat Earth social community, and
Right.
sometimes the two combine. But a lot of times the research community don't want to get involved in this social drama community, and vice versa, or whatever. But
Right.
it's just this is what people do, globe or flat. Like that's just how people are. There's conflicts of interest. There's personality battles, and it's a lot of it's ego.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Like just because you're a flat earther, you haven't shaken that ego yet.
Yeah.
And now you get the dollar signs and the super chats and the donations and the popularity, and this changes people.
Yeah.
Yep. Sad, but it's true.
Man, guys,
Yeah.
this has been a really good hang. I'm really happy with this. I'm really happy that you joined us, Marlena, because I think you added something.
Thank you.
I think you added something that we needed. You know, that perspective of not being taught this is a
I gotta
great
look up time
value.
Christmas.
I love it. So
Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me on.
sure.
You know,
The
if I
native
help with,
perspective is
yeah, if
very,
it helps
very
at all,
respected.
thank you.
Of
If
course
it
it
helps at
helps.
all, you know.
Of course it helps.
The thing is that we're not the only community. You know, there's so many communities, and there's a lot of them that are off the grid, that they're not sitting there online talking about it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because they just don't bother with it. Like there's people in our community that will not even go near a computer.
I don't blame them.
Right.
You know, they just won't.
I don't blame them.
My mother was one of those people. She would not go near a computer. She said, "There's something wrong with that." You know, that's how she was.
Yeah.
There's she liked the fact that people could, because she liked that we found people that we couldn't normally find because of the internet. You know, like we couldn't find them because there was no internet. You
Right,
know,
right.
there was family that we found, or certain functions that were going on. Like say, you know, when our cousins and stuff down in Dakota were having problems, so we helped them. You know, we wouldn't have known this stuff if we didn't have the internet. We wouldn't have known. I mean, we would have known. It would have got to us because, you know, our communities do communicate anyway. But for it to come out so quickly, you know, because
Yeah.
we fought fracking here and we got them out of our area.
Nice. So she saw some kind of value to
Right.
it.
But she didn't like the fact that she thinks that it was changing cells. She thought that, and it could be.
Right.
She thought that there's something in it that was physically would be harmful to people.
I can't argue that one way or the other, honestly. I really can't.
Wow,
I
that's a
don't
lot
know.
of FE books, man.
Oh yeah, this is 100 and I want to say it's
Oh,
138
wow.
megabytes of it's a zip
Wow.
file. I'm gonna post the link to it, and then you unzip, and you'll be at this for years.
Oh man.
Reading
Are
all
you
of it.
are you posting that link in the chat, or
I will post it in the chat.
dude, drop it now, man.
Okay.
He's like,
Drop
"Ow."
it. Drop it.
All right, I gotta go.
I was looking at those titles; are awesome.
That's good. And you're saying this, we can access this link at any time?
Yes, I just downloaded it. Yeah, it's.
Thank you, Jeb.
That is an awesome
I should say I just
resource.
unzipped it, but yeah, I just gotta find that email. I put it in the email to you when I gave you all those links. So I'm just
Yes, I remember that.
gonna find it and pop it open.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think we hit on a lot of things that show that this has not been accepted. This is not a 500-year like absolute. That's total nonsense. Anytime they
Right.
try and tell you that this thing goes back that far, that everybody was just like, "Oh, Copernicus, yeah, you're right, dude. Fucking high five, done deal. Peace out. It's a globe." No, this is not. This did not happen. This is not how things worked. People were very upset about it. They didn't want it being taught in their schools. They didn't want their kids being taught it. And you know,
Well, at one time, if you said the Earth was a globe, you got arrested.
exactly. This wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
So
Wow,
Yeah.
really? Arrested?
Yep. There's an
Okay.
article. I can't remember who put it. I'll have to find the article for you, Jibby. But it showed, it's a really old newspaper article, and that's what it was about. People getting arrested for lying to people about saying it was a globe. See, I think what happened is when he went on his little journey, he went in a circle and confused a circle for a ball. That's what I think.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
he went around in a circle.
It's a ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think so
We're
too.
spinning around. I still can't get over that one. That just spinning around at 1,000 miles an hour thing just really still gets to me.
It must.
And then
It's a
you know?
cartoon. It's a goofy cartoon. I don't know how anyone
Yeah,
can
like
accept
Wile E.
it.
Coyote.
Yeah. It's esoteric at best. You know, it's to take it as a physical like reality, as a physical thing that's happening, and not understand that these people are talking esoteric, ancient philosophy terms, which is I think what they're talking about when they're talking about spheres. And if you read any of the ancient texts on this knowledge, they talk about spheres and of that there's different spheres of evolution, and we can we get to one sphere to the other, and it's all esoteric. It's not meant to be taken as physical reality, people.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
just isn't.
I'm posting all the links that I've been
I see
sharing
him.
into the chat right
Jibby
now.
Jedi right now in the chat is posting links to an incredible
All
wealth
this-
of
Yep.
knowledge about.
The library.
Yeah, it's going to prove to you that this thing has not been accepted. It's not an established scientific fact. People have been arguing this from day one. The whole idea that this has been settled is absolute nonsense, folks.
Yeah, and don't shy away from Christian publications too, if you're not of the religious type or whatever. This is good information. It's neutral information. Whether if they believe in one God, 10 gods, well, who cares? Like, it's neutral.
Right.
Mhm.
Just take the information.
And when you approach anything, approach it with kindness.
Mm.
Think about, if you're talking to a specific person, approach this with kindness. It doesn't have to be anger and fighting and all this bullshit,
I like
approach
that.
it with kindness and an understanding. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because there is a tendency somewhat in flat earth to see people who haven't become aware of it yet as the enemy, or that it's someone that we should be fighting, or that's not the way to do it. That's not the approach. Just isn't. So I'm really glad you said that.
Thank you.
I have empathy for them because, man, it's kind of like looking at people who are infected, and I don't hate them. Like, I have compassion and empathy. I mean, eventually, though, if they keep slapping and slapping and slapping, you have to slap them back. But
Yeah.
it's to calm them
Yes.
down. It's
Yeah.
not because you hate them. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, knock it off.
Yeah.
Knock it off.
Yeah.
Calm down. Just listen.
Yeah.
Shake them a little bit.
We have to be the adults in a situation like this.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you figure they're looking at life like this. They don't want to have that realization that their parents lied to them.
Right.
Their teachers lied to them.
No.
Well, they got to realize that they were lied to also. That cycle was going on, and they need to be the person that breaks that cycle. They can't answer the questions that we give.
Yeah.
Bendy water, right? That's one. Bendy water. Everyone knows that's the biggest one.
It's
And the biggest flat earthers that I've come across are the ones that woke up was because of water.
Yeah.
It was all because of the water. Is how people,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys look at this. We have a province here in Canada called Saskatchewan. It's 760 miles of flat land. 760 miles. That's a lot.
A lot of missing curvature there.
It's completely flat.
Right.
There's no hills. There's no mountains. It's completely flat. Then you look at those salt. What do you call those places where those guys go racing their cars? The salt flats, I think they're called.
Yep. Absolutely.
You look at every single flat plane that there is here, and you'll see there's no way that we're curved around a ball or whatever, or a plum or a pear, whatever.
Exactly. No matter how oblate they try to make it, it's not oblate enough.
Well, yeah, my daughter and I were talking about that one day, and we were saying, now they're making it into a pear, now a shape, whatever. They're making it flatter and flatter is what they're doing.
They're trying, yeah. They're trying to accommodate this idea that there are flat sections, right? But the only thing that does is means that there has to be a part that's radically curved.
That's right. But then, so the ones they're listening right now, that are people that think they live on a ball. Think about it like this. Okay, now they're telling you that the shape is an oblique spheroid, right? Or a pear shape.
Yeah.
Why don't you question that last picture they sent you? was a complete beautiful big ball.
Exactly.
The one that Robert Simmons made, the graphic designer.
It's
He said it.
yeah. It's mind
So
blowing.
you think about, okay, yeah, look at those old pictures, and then now you're believing what they're telling you now as a pair.
Yeah.
Well, what about those other ones they showed you before?
They're trying to update something, but all the old imagery they've provided is in complete contradiction.
Right.
Yeah, of
And then
course.
the Earthrise picture, people should realize if that was a real picture, the Earth should have took over. It should have took up the whole picture.
Yeah,
The Earth should have took up the whole entire back. Their own horizon should have been the whole Earth, not looking like the moon.
exactly. I know that's one that's just like, I'm sure they tried a bigger Earth in that photo, and it looks so weird that they just were like, screw it, we'll do a little Earth, and nobody will say anything.
Come on, you guys. They never even put a flat Earth movie out there ever.
Yeah.
You know, I think that there are so many talented people in flat Earth. There's actors, there's like real people that are very creative. There's a lot of graphic designers, etc.
Yeah.
Everybody should get together and make a really good flat Earth movie. I'm talking about high quality,
Oh.
beautiful flat Earth movie,
I'm on board
like a
with that.
Discovery movie.
I've been talking about that for a while. You know, we need to start.
I
We
think
need
they
to
did
make
make
all
it
our
a
own
Lord of the Rings.
content. We need to start
Yeah.
making all of our own stuff.
My daughter thinks that we're in a more of a matrix. Like that's just she's yelling in the background
Yeah, it's
because of seeing reality change in front of our faces, right?
Before Flat Earth, I had been spending years researching the virtual reality concept and came to the conclusion that we're in a virtual reality. I thought it was a ball virtual reality, but that didn't make sense because I didn't even think about flat. Of course, it would be flat if it's virtual reality. So that just made it solidified the virtual reality even more for me. So I'm a V-Arthur, I guess you'd call it, but
Right.
it's flat. Well, yeah, I've already taken those next steps. Like I did years.
Yeah,
and
there's
years of
just different
research.
dimensions on top of the flat.
Yeah, I don't. And even if you're Christian, it's still a virtual reality because it's not the eternity. It's a temporary existence, which is the virtual reality. So any way you look at it, it seems to be a virtual reality because it's not the eternity.
I get
Alone.
that. Yeah, that makes sense. I like that.
But there's lots of information up there on a few good guys. Campbell, I think Tom Campbell is one. He claims to be a scientist. Even worked with NASA, and he says, "Yeah, it's a virtual reality." And great stuff from him. There's a lot of people out there. This is what I was looking into before Flat Earth. So
Right.
Flat Earth just blew me away. Like what? Like.
Yeah.
But it just fits together with that because yeah, you would have a rendering that would be a flat, plain kind of a thing.
Motherboard.
Like,
Of
the way
course.
that we make the video games. It's all
Yeah,
flat.
who's gonna design a video game with curvature? It would complicate the entire process to a degree that it wouldn't be feasible. It wouldn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Yep. All our flight simulators are all flat Earth.
Yeah.
Even the ones we have at the teaching schools here, at the flight schools, are all flat. The same ones that you guys play online are the same ones that basically a lot of people use for their flight instruction.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I hate to do it, guys, but we've been going for like 2 hours 40 minutes, and I've gotta end this thing.
Yeah, we can do this forever, and some of us have been. We do have
This
to
has
limit
been,
our
I've got to
time.
say, this has been one of the most enjoyable streams and panels I've ever done. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you guys, man. This is something else. And
Thank you so much, Ty. I'm so glad that you involved me in it.
yeah, you know, I wanted you. It's funny. I talked about having you on with Louis Lewis, my editor, and then you know, Woobly Boost was like, "Hey, do you want me to get Marlena?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And I'm so glad that worked out. And I'm
Thank
sure
you.
we're
I
gonna.
do too. And it's nice seeing you again, Jibby. I'm like, I always see, I run into Jibby everywhere also.
Yeah, Jibby's
Funny.
awesome. So this has been a great thing, and I appreciate everyone who's been a part of this and been part of the stream and the chat. Thank you all, and that's all I got.
Don't forget, you guys. Put your name in for a float. Do a float in your parades. Don't forget.
Good idea. And write,
the things parade and the Christmas parades are coming up.
yeah, and write letters to the editor. Don't discount that
Yeah,
either.
and when the Boston Globe article comes out, grab it, spread it far and wide.
I can't wait to
It's
see
going to
it.
be, I think, the first at least neutral to maybe positive article on flat Earth in like, I don't know, 100 years or so. Like,
No doubt. When is that
That's
set?
awesome.
Do you know
I'm
when
gonna
that's?
do one too here.
Do you know when that's coming out specifically, Jibby?
it's going to be a weekend edition because as it's been taking so long, his editor has been giving him more and more room, more and more.
Nice.
So it's going to be a page turner. It's going
I'm
to be
really looking
a couple
forward
of
to
pages.
it, man.
Me too. I'm real proud of you, Jibby.
I've given him P900 photos to use of us at Harvard Square, with the signs, Brother Ernest signs, really good, high quality, multiple angles. I said, just, grab whatever ones you want. I own these pictures. You can use them. And so it's going to have a lot of good pictures in it, and it's going to be informative, and it's going to also tell, like, the human side, the human story, and a lot of the things we were talking about here about, like, how we feel like, we should be, we can't just enjoy a video game or something or whatever.
Right.
We feel like, we should be spending our time
Yeah.
with that. And
Yeah.
how much time it does seem to consume of our lives. That's going to be in the article, but get a copy online.
When this thing comes out,
too.
I'd love to have you guys back on and talk about it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
That would be so great.
Well,
yeah, I'll probably have to do a lot of talking about it when it comes out. So if it's not out today, he's been saying, he gets delayed every night. It might be next weekend. I don't know.
Sure. Well, keep us posted on that, and I'm going to be keeping an eye out for it. And once again, thank you guys, and thanks for everyone that's been a part of this, and we will talk to you soon. Bye, you guys.
Yep, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.